Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. As you can see, I already got something planned. If you look right here to the, wait a minute, I was getting ready to say to the right, but it's my other right here. So first of all, I want to say good morning to you. Good morning to you, everybody that's coming in, as well as the replay visitors. Good morning. So what you're looking at right there on the right side of the screen, Sanahara Amachandra. And so what I want to share this morning is something that I'm excited about. It's a video that I created yesterday, and this is for our new project, Love and Light. Those of you all that's been hanging around for a while, you might remember back in November, Amma and I recorded a project. We recorded an impromptu studio album. We did a duet album. I was on grand piano. Amachandra, of course, on vocals, as well as singing bowls. And we recorded at Blue House Studio. So we're excited because we launched our pre-order campaign. And so now we're rounding third base, getting ready to seal this thing up. And so here's our video I want to share with you. And check this out. Here we go.
It's time to celebrate life all over the world. It's time to celebrate life all over the world. It's time to celebrate life all over the world. Let's celebrate life. Trust and believe in love. It'll pull you through. Trust and believe in love. It's all we'll ever need, y'all. Now I'm on my way. Now I'm on my way. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Love and light, family. It's Amachandra
And Aaron Hill. And we're excited to share with you our new project,
Love and Light. This offering consists of a collection of original songs and a few well-known covers that are soul-stirring, healing, and transformative. We had 2 impromptu recording sessions that, to sum it up, were simply magical.
We're currently working on the finishing touches to the album, like mixing, mastering, and artwork, and distribution. And we want to give you the opportunity to be part of the completion process and to be an intricate part of our legacy.
If you look at the info in the caption, you can pre-order the album and we'll add your name to our digital liner notes. You'll also get 2 songs immediately for you to start enjoying the music right away. And also a special thank you in our live stream the day of the release.
You'll also get an email notification when the project is finished and ready to download in its entirety, and a link to download using your preferred streaming service. Finally, we'd like to thank those who've already pre-ordered.
And we look forward to bringing this love and light into the world. Thank you. What a wonderful world.
Yes, family. Yes. So excited. Did I say excited? Yes. I'm so excited. The reason why I'm excited is because this has been something that we've been working on for a bit now, and we're excited because we want you to make history with us. We want you to be a part of our legacy. And so, Delima, good morning to you. How are you this morning? Delima, let me know if you could hear that video clearly. It's the first time I've ever shared my screen on this particular this app, this program, if you will. I do that. And let me know if you can hear it clearly. I'm excited, everybody. Love and light. It's come down the pipe, and it was an experience. We did 2 studio dates, and both of those studio dates were absolutely amazing. So Alma happened to be coming in town. She actually lives in Florida, and she came in town, and she had no idea. I set up an impromptu studio recording session, and I was like, since you'll be in town, boom, let's just go in the studio, let's just record, let's just have some fun, make some great music, some great times and experiences, and let's get it done. And so that's what happened. So I think it's at least 12 songs. We're editing down the process now, or editing down the material, but it's at least 12 songs. You've got Alma's originals, you've got a couple originals from yours truly, and then you also have some well-known covers like the one you heard, What a Wonderful World. We did Move Love by King. Man, we did Here's to Life. A lot of people that was listening to it, they really, really loved that Here's to Life rendition that we did. So it was a really good time. Love and Light. We're probably going to do more volumes of this, so I'd probably say this is volume 1. I probably can safely say that. And so check that out. In fact, one of the things that I'm going to do while we're here is I'm going to post a link in the chat. In fact, I meant to grab that before we got started. Let's go. And so you'll be able to pre-order this album by looking at the information that's going to be in the chat of this live stream. And it's going to be there in a few seconds. Actually, just go into my website. Boom. Here we go. In fact, let me show you all this. Let me do another share screen real quick. Share the screen. Show you what I'm looking at. Let's see. Application window. Let's get it. Boom. All right. So what you are looking at is my website. And the way that you can get here, this website is aaronhillsmusic.com. You can also go through aaronhilltv.com. And so here is the album, Love and Light. On Clubhouse, I'm going to be putting it in my Instagram bio. So those that are checking me out from different places after the fact, you'll be able to do that. So this is the album, Love and Light. And this was our first studio date right here. This picture you're looking at right now, this was our first studio date. And then the second one was the one that you just saw in the video. And so already you can see that some people have pre-ordered this project, and I'm glad to say that it's exciting. All right, so I'm posting it in the chat now. Let's see, pre-order Love and Light here. When you pre-order this, again, you get 2 immediate songs for download. And yeah, that is the deal. Yes. Everybody, welcome to the AP Morning Show. I want to say good morning to my people. I don't know why I always do this. I always have my screen so bright that you can't see it. You can't see it on FB. All right, so as you can see there, got my peeps hanging out with me, Etta Fly and Tanya Franklin. This is Clubhouse. If you have not heard me talk about this app, then you must not have ears, because even if you haven't been on FB or YouTube or wherever with me, you should be able to hear this just floating over the airways, like when you just leave out your door for work. Like, you should just hear it in the air, because I've been shouting about this damn thing from the rooftop. This is Clubhouse. Let me show you the app icon so you can know when you download it. That's Clubhouse. Clubhouse is basically an all audio app. No video, no text, no pics, no posts like that. It's all audio. It's basically us just talking on the phone, three-way conversations, three-way calling style conversations. Many people relate it to the party line. And it's basically the ability to drop into any conversation and either take part in the conversation or just listen in. This is what we call the hallway, which is very similar to like your Facebook timeline or any other timeline in other social media apps. But instead of pictures or text or videos or even live streams, all of these blocks are conversations with different people having different conversations about various topics, as you can see. There we go. My camera. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Cam. My camera finally got itself together and got the focus right. So you can drop into a conversation. You can either take part in the conversation or you can just listen in. And I'll give you some ideas. Like, for instance, right now there's a conversation that's going on that's called Lessons Learned in Business. We all need some help. There's 59 people in there talking. Lifting the lid on mental health. Let's talk anxiety. There's 65 people in there talking. In fact, Coco Lorraine Vera is in there, one of our good friends. Insta Hype. Grow your Instagram brand. 601 people in there talking. A welcome party for Clubhouse for Koreans. This is by the good brother Abraxas Higgins from the community club. 580 people in there and listening on that conversation. Morning meditation, 274 people. The list goes on and on and on. So you can download this app on the iPhone right now or iPad, any iDevice, but they're actually developing it for Android as well. And it's going to be out very soon. They're working around the clock on it. Highly advise you to jump into this app because it's where it's at. People's whole lives are changing overnight, making connections that they never thought possible, finding their tribe, finding their peeps. And in a few minutes, you'll see this room fill up where a bunch of peeps from the tribe will drop in, accountability partners. And so that's what we do here. And so I've started this concept, the AP Morning Show, Accountability Partners, on December 3rd, or at least I got here on December 3rd in this app. And for now, over 30 days, I've been doing this show, have been meeting people who I've been talking to every day. One brother the other day said, man, I don't know anybody who I'm in a conversation with every day. But that's the beauty of this app, because you have the ability to find your tribe. Speaking of which, met some new people yesterday. Shout out to Frida. Shout out to Mike. Shout out to all the people that jumped in yesterday. I meet new people every day. So I always start off this show with a few things that we can think about. I'm gonna go back to my ponderings. I usually share quotes or ponderings and some other kind of useful thoughts. And so I'm gonna go back to my ponderings book, which is on medium.com, or you can just download the Medium app and look for Aaron Hill TV. Medium is an app for writers or for anyone that wants to store their writings. You don't have to be a professional writer or anything like that. It could be for your Dear Diary. It could be for journaling. It's just a place to be able to store your writings as stories or as articles. So I've been writing about 8 books at one time. And the way I write books is, instead of just sitting down and writing, hashing out and fleshing out a whole book, what I do is I write books one page at a time. And the beauty about Medium is that you can actually you can actually read these books one page at a time while they're being written. All right, so this is from, let's see. Which one do I? All right, here's one. This is a really good one. Okay, so I wrote this. I wish I put the date on this because this was a really, really good lesson. I've been learning a lot about communication styles over the past year and a half now to 2 years. Communication styles, love languages. Speaking of which, on Clubhouse, everybody, I'm going to do a what is your love language room very soon. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm also going to do a conversation, the 4 communication styles conversation and room. And I'm going to do that with Coco Lorraine Vera. All right, so this is a pondering. I'm the type of person where I'm very intuitive. And so when having conversations with people, a lot of times, because I'm a professional listener, I kind of know where people are going before they even get there. So a lot of times, if I am trying to help in conversation, I used to have the tendency to cut a person off to just try to get to the point or save them time and that kind of thing. And so sometimes, that's a really helpful thing to do. And other times, it's the worst possible thing that you could do. Because what it does is make a person not be able to get to their point or feel heard or understood. And so, after getting some feedback, after listening, after paying attention to how conversations would go, checking in as far as how people felt and that kind of thing, I realized a few things. So here's the pondering. Sometimes cutting a person off in conversation to save them a trip around the mulberry bush can lead to a trip around the entire damn park. Their trip around the mulberry bush might be 5 minutes long, but you cutting them off and either frustrating or distracting them could be a 10 to 15 minute unwanted roller coaster ride. Be patient and let people speak their heart and mind. Even if it's not well put together, it's them speaking their mind uninterrupted, and in an uninterrupted way that's most important. The satisfaction of them feeling like they were heard and understood, if you mirror back to them before continuing, will allow for a more harmonious, succinct, and most of all, productive conversation, where both people feel successful and satisfied by the exchange. Note to self: continue to be patient. Feeling understood is more important than feeling enlightened. Feeling understood is more important than feeling enlightened. And I have a few people to thank for this. And the funny part is, when I wrote this, I actually had a conversation that day where this happened, where I decided to write it. Here's another thing. This was my word of the day, 12/6/19. Compersion. Have you ever heard of compersion before? So compersion cannot be found in the dictionary, but it's defined as an empathetic state of happiness and joy experience when another individual experiences happiness and joy. So I didn't realize that I had compersion. Like it was something that's just a natural part of my personality. I celebrate other people and I celebrate them when they do things that really make them happy and where they receive joy. So I constantly experience this state, and it's the driving force for how and why I help people. Loving versus being in love. My brother Scott Painter made me think about something that I've pondered on for a while that I'd like to start an open discussion about. I think we often mistake the concept of being in love with someone versus loving someone, mainly because the two can and often do coexist together in relationship, although in varying degrees. I do realize that it comes down to totally subjective definitions, of course, so I'm not saying my perspective is right. I just think that there are differences between these two ideas. In all my various experiences in relationships, I now see being, quote unquote, in love as an emotional state that you have no control over, like attraction or infatuation. I feel like being in love results from just how deeply someone does it for you, which can become deeper or less based on a number of variables over time. Various personality traits, mentality, physical traits, behavior, or changes within you, etc. I feel like loving a person is about being there for them, doing certain things manually to support, etc. But being in love with them is more about how deeply you're physically, mentally, and emotionally attracted, adore, or admire them. Like how much they quote unquote naturally do it for you without any extra effort, but just by being who they are. In my opinion, being in love initiates certain feelings that naturally makes you do things without trying, where loving a person requires you to put forth effort to manually do something, whether you feel naturally inclined or not. To me, being in love doesn't require effort. You either are in love with someone or you're not. And conversely, loving someone requires the effort of being intentionally mindful, respectful, sensitive, considerate, etc. The thing is, since the two often live together in a relationship, the lines can be blurred. Here's a summary again. In my experience, when you're in love, you're naturally inclined without much effort to do things that can be anywhere from mildly taxing to downright extremely difficult or impossible when you love but are not in love with the person. This is just my 2 cents. I'm curious what you all think. So on that tip, I'm going to open up the floor. If you'd like to come up to the stage, of course, you know my only goal mainly is to say hey to you, then by all means, you can come through. I want to say good morning to Edify, Tanya, good brother Ken. If you'd like to come to the stage, by all means. And if not, please continue to enjoy this experience passively as you go about your day, as you work, as you devise a plan to take over the world. Y'all remember Pinky and the Brain? That was it. That used to be my show. Animaniacs. So on that tip, I want to say a huge good morning to the good brother Ken Briscoe. I want to say good morning to Tanisha as well, and of course Tanya. And so here we go. Good morning, Ken. How you doing, brother?
Good morning, man. Just getting my day moving. What's happening with
you? Yeah, bro. Man, everything is good, bro. I am here. I just finished reading one of my ponderings. And this pondering was about the difference between loving someone versus being in love. Basically, in a nutshell, just to sum it up for you, I feel like one is manual and the other is just automatic. Like it's just something that's a natural feeling. You either feel a particular way or you don't. And right before you popped in, I was saying, that many times the two can coexist together, but they're many times misconstrued. So, yeah, man, I'm chopping it up about that. Some people on FB and YT are already jumping in to the combo. But yeah, and then the other thing I mentioned was this word compersion, which I just learned in 2019. It's something that I realized is a part of my personality. This was during my my word of the day series, and compersion basically is defined as an empathetic state of happiness and joy experience when another individual experiences happiness and joy. Have you ever heard that word, bro?
I've never heard of the word, but I definitely understand the concept.
Yeah, for sure. So that word was actually created and invented by the polyamorous community. And it was in the 70s, I think, when the word came around. But yeah, it basically means finding joy and happiness, or having joy and happiness in someone else having joy in happiness. And so, yeah, it's like you said, it's definitely a concept that we can relate to. And another thing that I was chopping it up about is something that I learned a couple years ago, being when I was learning conversation styles and learning my conversation style even deeper. And that was this. I'm going to read it one more time. Sometimes cutting a person off in conversation to save them a trip around the mulberry bush can lead them to a trip around the entire park. The trip around the mulberry bush might be 5 minutes long, but you cutting them off and either frustrating or distracting them could be a 10 to 15 minute unwanted roller coaster ride. Be patient and let people speak their heart and mind, even if it's not well put together. It's letting them speak their mind uninterrupted that's important. The satisfaction of them feeling like they were heard and understood, if you mirror back to them before continuing, of course, will allow for a more harmonious, succinct, and most of all productive conversation where both people feel successful and satisfied by the exchange. Continue to be, and this was a note to self, continue to be patient because feeling understood is more important than feeling enlightened. And that last part is what turned into, a quote for me as I thought about this and as I learned this. And it was in the midst of me learning about communication styles and learning that I was a personal communicator. And I'm also, my intuition, me being an intuitive communicator is what allows me sometimes to jump right to the point. And can, in fact, I think this might be a good point of conversation for us, because one of the things, everything has its pros and its cons. And so one thing that I can imagine that you probably experience as well, or at least are, deeply familiar with is, in business, sometimes this particular skill of being able to intuit where a person is going and beat them to the punch is really helpful, especially when you're having conversations where you are trying to help a person and where they're sharing information with you, you're trying to get something out of them. And as soon as they start talking, whether it's their body language, whether it's like the way that they talk, whether it's their tone, whether it's, the pacing, you can tell a lot, just from dealing with what you do with, in business. And we can, it can be helpful sometimes to immediately jump in and help a person out. Sometimes it's wanted. Sometimes it is warranted. Sometimes it is, something that is welcome. But then there are other times where this same trait, when a person is trying to maybe share with you their feelings, about something, or something that, they're dealing with emotionally, and it may even be with you, it's like not helpful at all, So yeah, I'm wondering if you can relate to that, because it was a big lesson for me to learn how to just be with a person in conversation and not jump to conclusions or jump to certain things, even if I was correct. And even if later on that it would still be the same response, it was just allowing for a person to speak their mind uninterrupted so that they could feel understood. And then that would give them the ability to be open to what I'm actually saying, have you ever experienced this, bro?
You hit the nail on the head. But I think it's not just business; it's personal. That skill set is really, really important when it comes to communication. I always felt like, I don't know who took this somewhere in my career journey, that the responsibility of communication is on the deliverer, not the receiver. Right. So I recognize that when you let someone fully express themselves, now they're in the best position to receive what you have to say.
Right.
Because there still aren't things left unsaid for them. You're in conversations and someone says something, you're like, I wanted to respond to that. But it's usually because you didn't get a chance to dump it all out.
Right.
So for me, that is really something I attempt to do in every conversation, especially if I know I want to help or contribute. I'm best able to help when someone's best able to receive. So I gotta let them get it all the way out. I gotta let them talk, even though I might be like, Jesus, he keeps saying the same thing over and over again.
Right.
But that tells me that's a real pain point for them.
Right.
And I gotta let them express it, and then I can come back around, mirror what they said to make sure we're on the same page. And then they should be willing to listen. And in business, from a sales perspective, the more you listen to your client, the more you hear what they need, the easier it is to give them what they need so you can close the sale.
100%, bro. So true. And like you said, which is definitely what I was getting at. This skill is, something that you need in personal life, as well as business and everywhere else. It's like, now what I've learned to do is actually appreciate more allowing for a person to flow. I don't have the I definitely don't have the tendency like I used to interrupt in that way. And there are times when interrupting is important. I mean, when I do this show, there's a particular time frame. I'm trying to stay on track in a particular way while still improvising, free flowing, allowing for a particular flow to happen, and where it may be warranted. But I've learned now there's even healthy ways to interrupt, and that kind of thing. There's pacing, there's timing, there's these kind of things. But I have learned outside of that, though, I have now gotten to the point where even if a person is continuing on in a particular way, actually that gives me more information, that gives me more data, that really helps me to understand, like you just said, even more where this person is, and most of all, the thing that has affected me the deepest is that, again, if a person feels like that they are able to get it out, then it makes them more receptive to what I have to say, and that was the biggie right there, because I was like, oh, sometimes, especially this is the other thing too, on the flip side of that, Ken, I'm naturally a problem solver, when it comes to myself or anyone else. Naturally, as soon as I see something, my mind immediately starts working towards how can I help? How can I help to solve the problem? And so, for the most part, I used to always think that the best way that I can help was by jumping straight to the point, jumping straight to solving the problem. And now I realize that sometimes that's actually the worst thing that I can do, because a person just needs me to just stand with them, just be right there with them. And it was a skill I had to learn. Now I enjoy it. Like, now it's my favorite thing to do, which is why, at the top of my bio here and everywhere else, I have professional listener first. But yeah, it definitely took some practice, and now I appreciate it, on another level. And definitely appreciate it on another level.
Patience too, right? You have to learn to have the patience to sit there and not give off any language, whether it be body language, facial expressions, in order to give that person the ability to fully express themselves, not feeling judged.
Right.
That's what took a minute for me, right? Just because I found that whenever I'm eager to jump in, I'm more than eager to be heard than to listen.
Right.
And that just defeats the whole purpose of the conversation. If I'm here just to say what I got to say, then this is not a conversation, right? This is my pontification. This is my soapbox.
Right.
So,
right.
It does take a minute to be a good listener. That's why I appreciate when you say you're a listener. I'm like, yeah, that's a skill that has to be developed. Just sitting there doesn't make you a listener.
Right. 100%, bro. I'll tell you one person that really, there are two people that really helped me with this. Sanahata Amachandra helped me with this by teaching me this concept of mirroring, and like, I was like, wow. And it would be like, even after a person is finished speaking, again, the tendency is to launch right into a response that's like, okay, cool, so here's what I think. And there are times for that, and the other thing too that I learned, which helped me, was that and this is how we do many things, I was operating based off of what worked for me. For those that don't know, mirroring is when, before you respond to a person and give them your thoughts, you actually give them back what they said. You might start it off by saying something like, okay, so what I understand you to be saying is this, and then you repeat back to them what they said. Or, so if I'm hearing you correctly, there's this. And, Ken, this we both know is like an invaluable tool when it comes to business, for sure, because when you're trying to help someone along, it really doesn't matter how much knowledge and information that you have. It's important for the person to be along for the ride and not leave them behind. And so by mirroring back, it can even help people a lot of times to understand what they're saying and to hear it back and to even check in to see, like, okay, is that what I'm really saying? Because then you have sometimes where a person is communicating in a way where they might not be being clear, or they might be expressing something that's not actually accurate with how they feel. And so again, in order to avoid this back and forth thing where you respond to something that's not even how they feel, mirroring back helps. And again, mirroring back helps because it's almost like a receipt. I look at it like a receipt, you know? Yeah, it's like a receipt. It's like, okay, so if I understand you correctly, boom. And then you going down these things, and then the person confirms from there and it's like, yes, that's what I mean. Or you kind of got it right, but here's this, you know, and it's giving them the opportunity to clarify. Or no, that's not what I'm saying at all, you know. And so I just realized that's a wonderful, wonderful, you know, happy medium. And then after mirroring back, then it's safe to be able to go on and express. And I realized that I've just had much better conversations with everyone. Like I always had patience. I always a good person to be there with you and talk. But learning these different devices and tools helped me to work with people with the different communication styles. And it might even be I think I'm going to actually make that a big topic today, where we talk about the 4 types of communication styles: analytical, functional, intuitive, and personal. I myself am naturally, by DNA, by definition, I'm a personal communicator, which means I go into deep detail and backstory even when I'm explaining something simple. And so we'll talk about that, you know, in a little bit more as far as breaking it down. But my point is that these tools have helped me to actually have more successful conversations with everyone, you know, instead of running into certain misunderstandings based on these things. So listening first and then practicing mirroring. Now, mirroring by itself took some practice as far as me applying patience to that, because you know, it was one of those things where I don't need it. Many times I don't need it myself. I need when I express, I guess I have a way of expressing where most of the time I'm clear and articulate, where I get like what I'm trying to say, the person can understand, and then I just want their opinion from there or what their feedback is. But being in other scenarios and situations, you know, helped me to learn that. Have you ever heard of mirroring before, and that whole concept in that way?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's in my opinion. Like I said, someone feeling like they're heard and being able to fully express themselves,
Right,
primes them to be a good receiver.
right,
So, you know, being able to say to them, like you just said, so what I hear you saying is, or it sounds like what you're saying is,
right.
If I'm correct, you're saying this. It's weird though, because some people take that as you being condescending to them, right? I've been in conversations where mirroring them, it almost offends them, as if, yeah, that's what I said. Why are you repeating it back?
Interesting.
They're not in a situation to listen. They are the person who just wants to be heard. They just want you to get what they got and bounce. So it's weird, man. Not all conversations are healthy conversations, right? So recognizing that certain types of these techniques don't work in an unhealthy environment.
Right.
So it's crazy. I know I just recently, in the past, honestly, month around conversation, I've learned that, you know, there's time for advice, there's time for growth, and there's time for both, right?
Wait a minute. Say that again, bro. I want to remember that. Say that again.
I said, in conversations just recently, I've learned that there's times for advice,
time for
growth,
and
there's time for both.
Man, that's powerful.
And being able to discern the difference between when somebody needs advice, when somebody just needs to grow at their pace and not yours, and when you need to kind of advise them in that direction, is what I'm currently trying to really, really master. Because I've learned that sometimes people express themselves, and like you just said, they just need an affirmation that you understand. And sometimes you having the answer is not the time for you to express it. Sometimes realizing they have to grow into that answer on their own is a way to keep the conversation healthy. So it's crazy with people, you know, having all of these tools will help you to become a better communicator and a better listener. And even a better confidant, right? Being able to go, get it, or just, my thing lately has just been to smile and say, oh, I understand that. Even though I might have the solution in my pocket, allowing that person to grow is better suited to them than me giving them some direction that they didn't come to the conclusion to on their own.
Wow, bro. That's you just said, something that is another thing that I learned, and I love the way you articulated it, because I find myself now being more balanced in that same way too, where expressing to someone, there are sometimes, hello, Dr. K, hello, T, thanks for joining us. We're talking about conversation styles and talking about, successful ways to have conversation through things like mirroring, through things like being patient and listening, letting a person speak before you give back your feedback, and some other tools. And Ken, what you just said, there are times where, and I, it's like, it's the wisdom thing, right? It's applying the right tools and just having the wisdom to know what makes sense in a moment. You said something heavy. There's times when you have something to say, you have a solution, but you realize at that time that person is not ready for it. It won't be a solution. In fact, it may be taken a different way because of where they are in their journey. And so being able to hold that back, just kind of listen, say, I understand. And then from there, allow them to be able to go on their path, to be able to find it in their time is, man, that I could not agree with you more on that. I could not agree with you more. And you said there's time to give advice, there's time for growth, and time for both. That right there, man, that's one for the books right there, bro.
It comes from years of failed conversations.
Yeah, right.
You have years of failed conversations.
Right.
You got to figure out a way to fix that. So you end up over-educating yourself in those areas.
Right.
So that's where a lot of this comes from. Just like, I've been talking to you for years and you never got it. Let me understand why.
Right. Yeah, I have a question, man. When it comes to say, your kids, right? How has this panned out as far as working with your kids? Do you find, in your journey as a parent, that these are some things that you've been able to bestow on them or share with them in a way that they've benefited from it, or are they on their own journeys? How do you think about that? And I want to tell you, when it comes to my daughter, my daughter is a very, very good communicator. My daughter Aria is a very, very good communicator. And now she's super excited about this whole conversation of communication styles. We were talking about the other day, my daughter Aria is 13 and she's like, Dad, please, I want to know more. Let's talk about it. I'm like, you could not make me more proud. Like, you about to make me just cry over this joint. But yeah, how have you been able to, take these ideas and, offer them to your kids?
Well, what's weird is as your kids grow up, so do you.
Yeah, golly, bro, you dropping gems today.
So, for me, and I mean, these are just lived experiences.
Yeah.
So I've recognized that, as I evolved, they did, and these things that I'm now understanding have really only come to pass in the past maybe 5-10 years. Right. So I recognize where I was, and I try to impart them with it.
Yeah.
I try to give them the experience of it without teaching them it. We all know that our kids watch what we do before they listen to what we say.
Right.
So I'm always intentional about showing my children how things should be instead of telling them.
Right.
Trying to figure out, or having them try to figure out where to apply it.
Right.
But yes, I do it intentionally with my son, with my daughter, and I've watched them. It takes a minute, but I've watched them adopt the same philosophies, even if they don't articulate them the same way, because I really just want them to be really, really well-rounded,
right,
productive, upstanding citizens.
Right.
That's really the goal for me. So, yeah, it helps. It also helps me become more gentle,
right,
with my kids, which I think is really important. Being able to be gentle to your children as a parent allows you to really become a guide and a safe space for them. So it definitely helps.
Yes, sir. I definitely agree with you on that. One of the biggest things that, is the foundation for all of this for me is going back to that listening thing again. With my daughter Aria, we've established the greatest relationship because I always let her know that I'm listening. I'm listening. Yes, I'm here to guide you. Yes, I'm here to give you, what you need, and to be in some ways like an authoritative figure in your life, like not in a hardcore way, but just like, hey, I've been through some things, so here's some things to think about. But she appreciates most, and I get most of this accomplished by showing her how much I care about listening to her feelings, and then from there being a parent. Um, I'm grateful because my mom did that as well. Even though, in addition to that, my mom also had, a little bit more of a like, I'm going to tell you, sometimes I'm not interested in your opinion. But as we continue to evolve and grow, as we were talking about, I love how you said that. As our kids grow, we grow. And that's definitely one of the things that I learned. Ken, I did an article response video, right? Because I do these when I read articles, I'll do an article response video, and I did one that was called "How to Stop Interrupting People," and it's so interesting because it's one of my most watched YouTube videos, which I'm really grateful for, and people have been commenting and commenting and commenting, for the last, I guess I put it out maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half or 2 years. And I've just been really, really grateful because so many people have been like, wow, the way you broke this down, like, I didn't realize that this was what I was doing. And now it makes sense to me why conversations have been going in the way that they've been going. And so I've been really, really grateful for that. And it's really helped me out a whole lot. So one of the other things I'm going to do here, I'm going to do a quick refresh. Brother Ken, it's always good to see you, bro. It's always good to see you. How you doing otherwise, man? Everything else good in the hood, as they say?
Man, listen, today is Tackle the World Day.
Yeah.
Earlier, like, today I got jets on my back, jets on my feet. Like, I'm pushing through. I just have this very, very optimistic view about what's going to happen today, and I couldn't even tell you what's going to happen. I just got a feeling.
Wow.
Everything I'm moving toward is going to make itself even more apparent, as it does daily, but today is going to be a good day for me.
Wow, bro. Look, here's the thing, man. And we were just talking about this yesterday. When you have that kind of feeling and that kind of intention, bro, like the universe has to like literally form itself to your will. And I love that, bro, because now I can't wait to talk to you on Monday and find out, like, yo.
Right.
Yes. So as always, bro, it's always a pleasure, always an absolute pleasure to hang out with you, man, and to chop it up. And yeah, there was so much we just covered in this conversation, even thus far, man. And I really appreciate you for helping this conversation to get off to an absolutely amazing start, man.
Yes, sir. Yo, I'm a pop out, but I'll be back in an hour. So, I gotta hang out with you again.
No doubt, brother. Much love to you, man. I'll see you in a few, man.
Same to you, brother. Peace.
Yes, everybody. Once again, welcome to the A to the P morning show. And right now, we've been chopping it up about all things dealing with conversation styles. In fact, serendipity plus life equals intention. Sana Hada Amachandra, as you all see on the stage, we're just chopping it up about different things, and it's relating to this concept of interrupting people, and also communication styles, intuitive, functional, analytical, personal, which in a few minutes going to be chopping it up about and breaking it down further. But I was just giving you your flowers and just talking about different people that have influenced me over the years with learning different things with communication and communication styles and what it means to be understood, what it means to work with different people that are the different kind of communicators, and to be able to give other people something that, even though you might not need it, it's a tool to help you to have more successful conversations across the board. Good morning, Sana Hada Amachandra. Good morning.
Good morning, AP Hill.
How you feeling?
Oh, well, thank you. I'm enjoying this. I'm looking forward to getting into this conversation with you.
Yes. It's a good one so far. OMG. If I could hit the replay button like right here in the midst of the experience, oh my goodness. Crazy. Yes. Chopping it up about communication styles and also just what it means to be able to have a healthy transaction. I was talking to Ken about, me being a natural problem solver. I also want to say good morning to April. Hello, April. Thanks for coming through. And I was talking to Ken about we were stepping through conversation and just talking about like different tools, that you use. And I was saying that, naturally, and this is something, and I won't read it again only because let me see, is this the one that I read? Yeah. So it was basically talking about what I learned about, I'm a natural problem solver. So there's times and there's spaces where being a natural problem solver comes in handy. We were just chopping it up, talking about business and how a lot of times to help people with business, you can hear where they're going and you can jump in. And this is the kind of conversation where it's warranted, where it's wanted, where it's welcome. And then there are other kind of conversations where it's totally counterproductive. It led me ultimately when I wrote this, I guess maybe 2 years ago. It led me to a quote, which is at the end of this pondering here that I read. It's a longer work, but the last part is feeling understood is more important than feeling enlightened. Feeling understood is more important than feeling enlightened. And it was just about this concept that when a person understands or feels understood, then it allows them to be open to understanding you or open to your perspective and that kind of thing. And I was even giving flowers to a number of people that have helped me with that, including yourself, Sanahara Amachandra. And so, yeah, we were just chopping up about that. When it comes to mirroring, where does mirroring, we just got finished talking about that. Where did mirroring come up for you as a tool and a technique for conversation and for exchange, for having a successful conversation?
Thank you for this question. It's making me reflect now. It's been such a part of my life. I'm like, where does that originate from?
Yeah.
Because although I have a degree in psychology and in sociology, which is that, that micro and that macro world, I also worked as a nurse. I worked as a nurse.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that mirroring was first brought to me in that caring profession. Like nursing is actually billed as a caring profession.
Right.
And so I'm pretty positive that we began learning it, to be proper, or be better caretakers of our clients, of our patients. And I think as they wanted to help us grow, probably in one of those personal development courses, those, professional development courses we did, and I grabbed it.
Right.
I grabbed it and I held onto it. It's become an important part of how we're able to create space for each other to be seen, heard, and valued.
Right. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And that makes sense to me because like you're saying, when I think about nursing and caretaking, man, once again, that is a great place to learn that because it makes sense. You're working with people and caretaking around a number of different aspects, physical, emotional, their mental well-being. And first, I would imagine, that in order to connect with a person, in order to build that relationship of trust, that relationship where you can caretake on them and caretake with them, they have to feel like they can express to you. They have to feel like whatever they're feeling, whether it's justified or not, whether it's something that they need to switch their position or not, whether it's something that they'll later get help with from you or not, they have to first feel like you are open and welcome to their feelings and to their situation, I would imagine.
Oh, most definitely. And as I hear you talk about it from the nursing work, and what we call motivational interviewing. When we're working with clients and when we're working with the patient, a lot of it is when you're doing patient-centered care. And so what we know about, those of us in serving communities, whatever that is, coaching, healing of any type, if we're in a serving community, we know that the best way to serve is not to just go in and fix, but to be sure we heard the needs of the person. And I tell you, the place where mirroring, I think, really serves me the most is in my personal relationships.
Right.
Because in those personal relationships, it's very easy to begin to assume based on past experience that doggone ego is always bringing up the past.
Right.
Tell you what you think it is, and then you find out that it wasn't that. When you listen in, and this is what's a like, I literally want to simply give this back to you.
Right.
And it's an interesting journey, but I'm appreciating this part of the conversation, especially around conversation styles and what it means to recognize and to become aware of it. Because a lot of us, you know how the fish don't know they swimming in the ocean, or in water is his home. Whatever your conversation style, it's just in it. So once you know it, you can decide if it's going to be effective to really get to your goal. Stay the same or to actually communicate. Yeah,
100%. It's such an invaluable tool for building trust, in the moment or long term. And another place where I've learned this even further has been in, psychotherapy. I mean, for those that don't know, and I want to also do a quick refresh, say hello to April, hello to Micah, Amber, Dalia, T, Dr. K. Welcome to the AP Morning Show. Of all things, we talk about so many things in this show over the course of 7:30 to 10:30. And right now we're talking about chopping it up about all things dealing with communication and communication styles, talking about what it means to feel heard and understood, what it means to be have different communication styles. I'm a personal communicator. I'm also very intuitive, which means I naturally am a problem solver, and I lean in strong into problem solving. And there are places, like they say, everything has its pros and its cons. So there are places where that's an amazing thing, places where it's not. So what I've learned over these past couple of years, with the help of some beautiful people in my life, is how to balance it out, how to communicate to the analytical, the functional, the intuitive, the personal communicator, as well as different people that's just in different scenarios or situations. I'm naturally a person that doesn't want to see people suffer or deal with confusion or anything that's negative. So I naturally, as soon as I assess a person immediately, like when they're sharing with me, my brain is immediately going to, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And so in growing and learning, I've now learned that in addition to helping by having some good methods to give a person some different things that will help them out, sometimes not doing that at all is the most helpful thing. And just standing with the person, just confirming, just giving them a receipt, as I was talking about earlier. Or I look at mirroring as like this form of mirroring as a receipt. And just different ways so that you could have successful communication with different people of different walks of life. One of the other things too that I'm going to be sharing here in a few is some other aspects of mirroring, which I've learned in psychotherapy. I'm in school for psychotherapy. We call it attunement, and attuning. And this concept of mirroring stretches even farther than not only giving a person back, okay, so what I understand you to be saying is this, or so if I understand you correctly, blah, blah, blah. The beautiful part about that, and I just want to reiterate this again, that I love about it is there are three categories which a person's conversation or a conversation will go when you do that. A person will say, yes, that's exactly what I was expressing or how I feel or what I'm sharing or what I think or what have you. And then that person feels confident, they feel understood, they feel happy that you're there, you took that time, and then their ears are open for a response. Or after that, like we said, the next step is asking a person even before you advise or before you give your opinion, is it okay if I share with you something that I blah, blah, blah. And these steps just help for that healthiness The second category is that a person may say, oh yeah, you got this is what I'm saying, but here this is what I mean here, or this is what I want to share here. And then the third category is where the person's like, oh, thank you for giving me that back. No, I'm not saying that at all, or that's not what I'm saying. But either way, it helps you to step through the communication process so you can have successful communication. The other aspect of this, and I want to see what you think about this, Amma, is again this continuing on where using mirroring to connect with others, adopting the same gestures, posture, or tone can enhance bonding and help with networking or negotiating. Be subtle about it, but it's a common experience. Here's an article that talks about it. It says it's a common experience. You're deep in conversation with someone, and suddenly you realize you're both holding the same pose, leaning forward and propping an elbow up on the table. Or you notice you're suddenly starting to pick up the other person's southern accent or fast, loud speech. Mirroring a conversation partner's gestures, expressions, posture, vocal pitch, or tone can reflect rapport or a desire to please, research shows. It is seen most often between romantic partners, but it happens at work too, and in networking sessions, meetings, platonic conversations with colleagues, etc. Creepy, maybe. Most people do it unconsciously, but mirroring can help you create powerful connections with others. This behavior, often called the chameleon effect, often causes others to like and trust you more. Professional networkers, negotiators, and salespeople say they use mirroring to help them engage more deeply in a conversation and understand the person that they're talking with. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to continue to read from this article, as well as we're going to jump into the 4 types of communication styles. I tell you, I was sharing earlier for everybody here, my daughter Aria, she's 13, and we had a conversation the other day, and she was just like, Dad, I want to learn so much more about this. And just in our brief conversation, she was like, this is so cool. I recognize my friends. I recognize like Angie, she's an analytical communicator, and Noah, he's a personal communicator. And I was like, another proud papa moment. And so when it comes to that, I'll say this, and I'm wondering, and I definitely know you can relate to this, Amma, because I feel that this is one of the other things that as a creative, as an artist, and that kind of thing, it's one of the things that helps to connect. I naturally connect in that way. I've always been a person to naturally connect with another person as far as their gestures or their tone and that kind of thing. I mean, we all have our moments, but I hardly ever have a situation where a person is talking softly, and I'm like, yeah, but the thing is, like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I believe a lot of that comes from being a musician too. What about you? How does that resonate with you when you think about these other forms of mirroring and attuning?
I love that you're bringing like this depth to this idea of communication style, because ultimately we're all seeking awareness, even if we don't notice what we're doing. Connection. We're seeking connection.
Right.
Now, what we're going to do with that connection, that can get interesting, because there are people who use we would say there are certain personality types.
Right.
There are certain personality types that will use mirroring to endear themselves, to kind of come in, and that's difficult for folks. But I do know that in spaces where we have trust in relationships, it's a wonderful way to foster that, to build on that. And I think that it also becomes a sign that people can see when things are different. We're not mirroring.
Right.
We're not seeing each other. We're not following those things. So it becomes just another way to develop that intuitive, that inner knowing what's going on, situational awareness.
Right.
What the non-verbals are, or even with the verbals. But I love that, and I love to see couples look at each other when they talk.
Right.
I love to see the couples who they start. Same thing with children, and I will tell you this as an interesting one. These doggone little master teachers, they be hijacking the teaching. You think you're the parent teaching. My children, they showed me when I was signed. They show me when I'm down. They show me when I do that, because they'll do it.
Right.
I will have my son sighing one time. I'm like, why are you sighing? He's like, That's where you got that from. Or my little girl said, she's like, I saw your eyes do this when you did that.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, y'all are all in. Okay, look, I need you to relax a little bit and then think, you can also use this to benefit you. But that expanded can become, like what you said, the curiosity of when you do this, what did you mean?
Right.
That way you don't make up a story. But that's the mirroring when it goes deeper and we start going all the way in, asking those good clarifying questions can keep everybody safe. But I love when you witness the flow. It's like when people start picking up different words that each other say, or and I definitely, people, depending on who I'm talking to, I'll pick up a New York accent in a minute. I'll pick up an Irish accent in a minute. I'm back in the South. I will definitely sound quite country. And I love that. The mirroring with those things are very interesting. And it can be really healthy or not. But it's good to know it so we then get to do something with that knowledge, That's what comes up for me.
I couldn't agree more, it's what I've noticed, and this is why I have so much fun practicing it, is that, I've now been able to, like within a matter of minutes, go from not knowing a person to establishing deep trust just by connecting in those ways. And so this is such a fabulous thing. I'm going to continue to read here. And I also want to refresh the room. I want to say hello to another person who has helped me so much with this thing, Coco Lorraine Vera. I want to say hello to Micah, Amber, Delia, T, Dr. K. If you would desire to jump up to the stage so we can continue, so that you can be a part of this communication about communication styles, by all means, definitely do that, because I would love to hear your thoughts as far as how you can relate to this, or where you are on your journey of this kind of thing, this thing called mirroring, this thing called attuning, and what has been your thoughts around this. And so we're going to keep this conversation going in that way. I want to read one more thing, and Tanisha, I'm curious to hear how you can relate to this. So here's the next part of this article, and I'm going to keep reading like bits and pieces as we go in order to get this whole thing over the course of the experience. Retail sales people. Oh, and also want to quickly say hello to my FB fam again, Chip Dalton. Chip, what's happening, fam? It's been a while, bro. It's so good to see you. I hope all is well. Happy New Year and all of that good stuff. All of the holidays we missed, brother. Good to see you. I also want to say hello to _Cam. Hey, Cam. Thanks for hanging out. And Ifa Osun. Thank you so much for hanging out this morning. Thank you for sharing your information, and much appreciated to you. Retail salespeople who were told to mimic the nonverbal and verbal behavior of customers sold more products and left customers with a more positive opinion of the store, according to a 2011 study of 129 customers by French researchers. In another study published in 2008 in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology, 62 students were assigned to negotiate with other students. Those who mirrored others' posture and speech reached a settlement 67% of the time, while those who didn't reached a settlement 12.5% of the time. People who deeply engage in conversation are often surprised to realize that they're mirroring each other. Diane Darling was on a video call recently with a friend in France when she noticed both were leaning back with their arms extended overhead as if they were doing a morning stretch. But for her, it was 2:00 in the afternoon, says Miss Darling, a Boston networking consultant. Oh my gosh, we're in the same position, she told her friend. This relaxed, open posture reflects trust, and their simultaneous gestures sprang from a moment of deep connection, says Miss Darling, author of the Networking Survival Guide. Last part, researchers using brain imaging technology in new ways have recently discovered that these shared behaviors go beyond simple mimicry. Scientists using functional MRIs to study listeners and speakers have found that they are dynamically coupled with speakers and listeners, brains reacting and adapting to signals from each other, says a 2016 study co-written by Yuri Harrison. Blah, 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 to kind of wireless bonding of brains. I love that. The brain's mirroring capacity is the basis for this interplay of signals and reaction, and nonverbal cues enhance it. I'm going to pause there. I'm going to say once again, good morning. Hey to Meyer. Hey to Sherry. Just see you popped in. And let's say a huge good morning to Tanisha. Tanisha, if you're there, good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Tanisha. How are you today? Let's see if I could refresh to make sure I'm on point. You know, sometimes this app, you don't know that people are gone until. So Tanisha, if you're there, would love to hear from you. If not, and you're hanging out and you're at work, by all means, continue to listen in on the convo. And if there's anyone else in the audience who would like to come on up to the stage, I would love to hear your thoughts on communication. You know, what is this to you when it comes to these gestures? Do you find mirroring something that you do naturally? Is it something that you've had to learn? Let's see where we go with this conversation. And if not, and you want to continue to listen to this experience in the background for your morning, by all means, you can do that too. Y'all know how it goes. Come through. And everybody else on Facebook and YT, if you have any thoughts about these, continue to drop them. Hello to the brother Asim. Thanks for dropping in this morning, brother. Hope that you are well. So this next part I want to read, it says, you know, when we think about these gestures, this kind of alignment fosters closeness and trust. Once again, this idea of closeness and trust. Hello to Michelle Guthrie. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you. And so here's the next part of this conversation. This kind of alignment fosters closeness and trust. The extent to which people are able to create this brain-to-brain coupling makes them more powerful, says Noah Zandon, chief executive and co-founder of Quantified Communication. This person who wrote this article gives everybody's name and everything they've done. It's useful in many environments where collaboration is going to be more helpful than hostility. That's one for you right there. Deliberately trying to mirror another person's behavior without being truly engaged can backfire, however. Others are likely to notice it and see it as an attempt at manipulation. We tend to like people who imitate us as long as we don't notice they're doing it. Listen to that statement. See, and this is psychology for you right here, you know, and especially having a psych degree, I know this resonates with you right here. We tend to like people who imitate us. So that first speaks about our awareness of them imitating. We tend to like people who imitate us as long as we don't notice they're doing it. So it's kind of like this conscious and subconscious thing. And again, I think that this is probably why, you know, many people see me as friendly or welcoming, because I naturally just flow in this way. And my goal is just always to be harmonious with the person as much as possible. I'm not trying to mimic. I'm not trying to mirror. It's just something I naturally do in this way. So it says a job candidate might copy an interviewer's posture and speaking style in an attempt to make a good impression, for example. Sometimes this is obvious to the interviewer, and sometimes this isn't, depending on the job candidate's skill, subtlety, research shows. And then we're going to go into some do's and don'ts. Tanisha, are you back with us? Just want to check in with you to see if you're with us, see if you have anything to share. Sherry, I know you said you'd be here in a few minutes if you'd like to share. And if there's anybody else in the audience who'd like to share. Amma, do you have anything to share? Does that spark anything for you, what I just read?
It actually does. It actually does. I love the idea of the backfire, right?
Right.
Especially because a lot, I'm going to bring up this idea. Have you ever heard of a sacred clown?
Sacred clown, you said?
Yeah.
First time.
Sacred clown. Okay. In the Lakota tradition, Native American tradition, they talk about this group called the Sacred Clown, and their role is really important because what they do is they do these when people are acting out or doing things in the community that are not harmonious and they can't see themselves.
Right.
They will mimic them in an exaggerated way.
Wow.
To bring attention to the behavior, and people can get angry, but because they know that their role
in the community is considered sacred, you can't like go fight the clown. You know,
You can't
all
argue.
The clowns are looking at you. Now all the sacred clowns.
Right.
But that's the role, and that and even down to if a clown gets big and full of themselves, and they're so, I'm gonna clown everyone, then other clowns will come clown them.
I love that.
So there's a role, I think, that we've gotten too sensitive to not be able to take ourselves lightly.
Yeah.
To not be like, oh, I'm doing that, aren't I? Yeah, you are. Yeah, you is. Yes, you is. To stop that. It would make everybody happier, and you will have better situations. But yes, I just wanted to bring that in around mirroring and being in this sacred, also called the Hayoka, Hiyoka, Hayoka. And it's a sacred clown, and it's all in real fun, but it's a real role that we kind of could use.
Powerful.
Sacred clown.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful. I mean, wow. First of all, the agreement, right? The agreement that this person represents a particular role. You know, this person is here to show us possibly what we can't see with our own eyes. And to have that self-awareness for that objectivity, like to have that self-awareness, to have a position, to have a role within this culture, where it's all about having that objectivity, knowing that there'll be times when we're in our head and we can't actually see ourselves, and to have someone to be able to act out a particular role so that we can see ourselves in that way. That's so useful, you know, because one of the things so I'm in, for everybody again that's here that didn't hear me mention this earlier, I'm in school for psychotherapy, and you know, it's something I've been studying just on my own for a while, but now I've decided to study it formally. And so one of the biggest things that they talk about in the form of psychotherapy that I'm studying, which is experiential psychotherapy, which is the field that was really pioneered by a guy named Milton Erickson. Milton Erickson, in a nutshell, was someone who came along and brought the right brain to psychotherapy, meaning that, you know, from the left brain side, the field was built on, you know, and the analytical, it was built on, you know, this kind of real clunky way of working with people. Now, it worked, but it was because it created this extremely awkward environment. You know, a person would be in a room, and then the therapist would actually be in a completely different space, you know, and it was that kind of thing. But they, you know, that was where we started on a journey. And so at some point, Milton Erickson comes along, and he's operating more from this intuitive right brain, you know, listening to a person, mirroring, just being with the person, just being there and being a caring person. And so it advanced the field. It took the field to another level because of the fact that he was connecting in another way. Now, they were surprised because they were like, wow, how is he getting the same results and better, and he's not using any of these techniques? But in experiential psychotherapy, one of the biggest things that he used in order to help people was, before helping them with whatever their issue was, he would accentuate the issue. He would make it be where it was even more pronounced. You know, so if a person was grinding their teeth, or if a person was doing something, he would have them to grind their teeth. He would over accentuate. And it was a way of getting it to be getting a person to have a different relationship with it by accentuating it, because a lot of times with different things, we just aren't aware of what we're doing. And so it was an ingenious method. It was such an ingenious method. And so I think about that with what you're saying here in this sacred clown thing, and how here's a person that's in the position of being that accentuator, the person to say, here is what you look like, here's what you're demonstrating, whether you can, you know, even though you can't see it. You know, I think that's such a powerful thing. Such a powerful thing.
I agree. I think the part that gets to me, which I think is funny about that sacred clown energy, is a lot of folks naturally do it in our society. They just don't use their powers for good. They the petty Jane.
Right.
And they come and they see things and they call out all the negatives. They can't. That's all they. That's it. It's a whole. They take it into another place, and they communicate. A lot of people end up, walking on eggshells or whatever when we only see the negative. But yeah, I think I love what you're saying about him bringing that right brain into psychotherapy, and I think you shared about him before. I think maybe because of his own need to be seen and validated and witnessed, he brought a compassion to other people because of his own lived experience. Would you say?
Yeah, he, from the way that the history shows, he just was like how could I put it? It was almost like he wasn't necessarily trying to be seen or trying to do anything. It was just naturally the way he related. He just, as he came into the field, in just being observant and just listening to people, he just observed that it was way more effective to not come with a script, but to just listen, and to just listen to where a person is, and from there to just be with them emotionally, and from there to start doing certain things that help them. So it was one of those things he kind of just fell into, because his personality, when you listen to him speak, he speaks very slowly like this. And he was a person that had he had polio, and he was paralyzed, and it was a number of things. So he had nothing but time but to just sit and listen and just be with people. And it was one of those things that, in fact, you mentioned this, that and you were mentioning this about your Reiki practice and how you're learning to just embody Reiki as opposed to just applying it, like being Reiki. He had this whole way of just being with people where many times he wouldn't have to say anything. Just listening to them would solve their problem, and they would be like, "Wow, he's amazing. He's a genius. He's Jesus in the flesh." And it was just because of the fact that instead of him coming from a pre-written script, he just did the thing that was most intuitively connecting, which was just listening, being with people, and just being able to, have this kind of, connecting with people. So I want to read a few things here. And once again, I want to refresh the room for everybody that popped in. We're talking about communication styles. We're talking about, what it means to mirror, this concept of mirroring, which has become one of my favorite topics, since I've been learning about it firsthand experience. So I want to read this real quick, and then we're going to jump to our segment with Sherry. So here's some do's and don'ts when it comes to mirroring. And by all means, if you'd like to, please ping someone into this experience, because I tell you, there are so many people. I didn't grow up with this kind of skill or even knowing about this. Like, I grew up in an environment where it was very transaction. I mean, the transaction and the transactional approach was like, okay, this is what I feel, and then another person immediately jump in and interject. Well, this is how I feel. Another person jump in. Well, this is how I feel. And it's more so that. And then especially when it comes to my parents, my mom was very intelligent, and my dad too, but they didn't grow up with communication skills when it came to these kind of things. They grew up with some basic respect kind of things, like don't yell at a person, like these kind of things, which are really good places. But the more nuanced transactions, were things that I would later learn. All right, so here's some do's and don'ts about mirroring. And also want to say hello to Latrice. Thank you so much for hanging out, Latrice. Do's and don'ts about mirroring. Mirroring typically works best when it is unconscious. Doing it consciously requires some subtle skills. So here's some do's. Number 1, build a connection first. Make listening and understanding the other person your priority. I'm going to read that again. Build a connection first. Make listening and understanding the other person your priority. Now, this is one of those, all of this has to do with checking your ego. Because again, this is even when you have something to offer that eventually the conversation leads to that, like that was what was needed, you still have to be confident with not jumping right in and doing that, but making your first priority that you listen to and understand the other person, even if you feel like you already understand them. It's important for them to know that, not just you, because this is not a conversation takes two people, so it's not a one-sided thing. So build a connection first. Here's the second thing. Start by nodding and tilting your head as you listen. Now the nodding thing, and I want to include something else in that, which is saying words like "I understand," or okay, or not saying anything. Sometimes this was another skill that I learned too, which was just saying like okay. You're more so confirming without interjecting or without directing the conversation. So try matching the other person's vocal tone and pace as well. If that works, move on to mirroring gestures and posture. Don't try to fake it, pretending to be interested when you're not. You'll almost certainly be found out, damaging the relationship. Now, here's some don'ts. Don't try to fake it by pretending you're interested when you're not. Don't mirror negative nonverbal signals, such as crossing arms in front of your body or stepping back. So when a person is doing something like that, you don't, if they're doing something that is out of their frustration or something like that, you don't want to mirror those. Try to copy the person's gestures, movements, and expressions. Don't try to copy the person's gestures, movements, and expressions exactly. And don't devote so much energy to mirroring that you feel stressed. Now, the thing I like about this list is that where they first started is, I think, the most important thing to remember. I think that you don't even have to remember this do and don't list. Just remember this one thing. Make listening and understanding the other person your priority, because everything else flows from there naturally. Even if you mess up, if your intention is to understand, then you'll naturally say things that flow in that way. And even when you mess up, the person will be able to correct you, and then you'll be able to say like, oh, it is my goal to understand you. That's my priority. So I apologize about that. Continue, like keep going, or repeat, or whatever, like whatever is needed. So that's that. And then the last thing I'll say, and then we will jump and say, we'll refresh the room and say good morning to Sherry. It is wiser to begin to feel a sense of connection before you try to mirror. You should already be showing genuine openness and interest via nonverbal cues, facing the interviewer squarely. And they're saying interviewer, but just, replace it with, just even platonic situations, facing the person squarely. And like Amma said a few minutes ago, making frequent eye contact. That's the number one thing. Oh my goodness. It is the worst thing in the world when you're talking to somebody and when they are not looking at you or not giving you any eye contact. It doesn't matter what they say. I don't care if they talk to you the whole time, unless they're doing something like, they're working or something like that. And that's understood. When a person is not doing it, but they're not making eye contact, that shit feels terrible. Unless you recognize, oh, this person maybe has a problem with confidence or something like that. Now that's understandable. So you should already be showing genuine openness and interest via nonverbal cues, and also stick to behaviors that come naturally. And that's what I was saying a few minutes ago. If you purposely try to copy everything someone else does, it's going to be awkward. All right, so let's pause there. And let's say a huge good morning to Sherry. Good morning, Sherry. How are you? And if you'd like to come up to the stage, by all means, please raise your hand. You come up to the stage, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are about conversations, this aspect of conversation with mirroring. Have you done it before? Do you suck at it? Are you still trying to learn it? Have you even ever heard of the term mirroring? By all means, you can come up to the stage. And if not, and you just want to listen in, by all means, you can do that too. Thanks for coming through. Sherry, are you there? Good morning. Meyer is coming up to the stage. I think Sherry is. Oh, I just saw your message, Sherry. No doubt. We are here. So when you get through, come on through. Meyer coming up to the stage. Good morning, Meyer, if you're there. Good morning, brother. How you doing today, fam? Good to see you.
Hey, I'm good. That was what's the word I'm looking for? Intense. The 30 seconds of my phone glitching between accepting secret thing. And I was like, I wasn't sure if I was on mute or not, but it was frozen for a solid 30 seconds.
I've been noticing this. Yeah, I've been noticing the same thing, bro. In fact, sometimes, and this is for everybody what Myra's talking about, just in case you experience this, you know, this is it's another one of those, like, it shows you how much this app is being used. Sometimes it'll glitch where you'll raise your hand, and even on the moderator side, I will actually hit the invite, and for some reason it won't, like, I don't know if the person sees it or not, because they don't come up right away. So yes, I definitely feel you on that, Myra. Sometimes there's a delay. How you doing this morning, brother? How you feeling?
Man, I'm good. Just tuning in right now, so catching the vibe of the room and just hanging around. Yeah, man. Nothing major to report.
No doubt.
Mostly it's just been good, you know, trying to push the record, trying to say what's up to everyone.
Yes.
Keep it moving.
Yes. Speaking of which, you know, I always love to highlight, Myra has a new song out, and he's dropping a single a month. And, you know, here we are, accountability partners, accountability room, and in so many ways, again, and this to me is one of those wonderful times where we can show the depth of this room. You know, everything from holding each other accountable as far as communication and these kind of things to, like, goals, you know, personal goals. And in this case, Myra's dropping a single a month. And by all means, please check it out. I actually bumped it yesterday on the show. In fact, I'll probably pull out the instrumental again today. It's SFU, S.F.U. And you could check out Myra. It's actually in his Instagram bio. And you can also check him out on your favorite streaming service. And the Myra Clarity. Check that joint out. It's a banger.
Man, I appreciate that promo spot right there.
You know it, baby. You know it. You my homie.
I should have recorded that.
Right. I got you on the drop too, bro. If you ever need one, I got you on the drop. I also want to say a quick good morning to Lisa. We want to say good morning to Lisa. We see you. Thank you so much for hanging out, family. We're chopping it up about all things accountability. And today's topic this morning with accountability, it has to do with mirroring. It has to do with this concept of attuning yourself. It has to do with this concept of how to have a successful communication with another person by being able to mirror their gestures, but also first starting off by being able to give them a receipt of conversation by it being where when a person is sharing with you, sometimes the most helpful thing to do is to, before you give your opinion, before you launch off into your feedback, is to be able to first help the person to know that you understand them by mirroring, by saying things like, so if I understand you correctly, blah, 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 and then giving them back and then waiting for them to confirm that before you then jump on, in it in that way. So that's what we're talking about here. Myra, I'm curious, bro, how do you, whether it's that or whether it's just in general, I think about my own journey with communication. I don't know if you're familiar with the 4 communication styles, analytical, functional, intuitive, and personal.
That's actually a new one for me.
What'd you say, bro?
That's a new one for me. I hadn't heard of that.
What, as far as communication styles?
Yeah, like the 4 types. That's a new one. I'm gonna have to dig into that.
Yeah, I think you're gonna find it interesting, bro. We may get into it today. I actually was going to launch into there after touching on this mirroring thing. But then once I got into this mirroring thing and then seeing how, valuable it was, I was like, you know what, we need to go deep with this because it's such a helpful thing. And then from there, if we don't get to it today, it will definitely be the topic of the next morning show for sure. Because, but to give you a little brief on it, I'm a personal communicator, and I learned about that via my good friend Coco Lorraine Vera. And so in a nutshell, what that means is my natural style of communicating is to give context, backstory, and then backstory of the backstory, even if you just ask me something like, yeah, bro, so what'd you eat this morning? And so I'm naturally a person that will be like, yeah, so I ate, these eggs, and man, I'm so glad I ate it because I haven't had eggs before. The last time I had eggs, man, and I've been to an egg farm one day. Like, it's just, just naturally that, which it's a beautiful thing when it is, but when you're dealing with an analytical communicator who needs data, who's more like, just tell me what you ate and move on, that's it. Like, you ate eggs and okay, it's done. It's not helpful at all. So yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg. But in general, even before finding out these communication styles in depth, I'm curious when it comes to you, bro. Do you find that you're naturally a person that, when it comes to communication, do you how has that been for you? Like, has it been a thing where communicating with people has been something that's always an easy and natural flow? Have you found things within your personality? Okay, got it. You joined each other back. Yeah. I get it. For all the reasons, right? For all the reasons. Tell me, at least, I'm just curious because me, again, personal communicator. So I'm always curious. Just, anything related to like something you've learned which has helped you to be a better communicator, from then to now.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm one of those people that like stitch their personality together at an early age from like television and movies. I didn't really have any like siblings or nothing, so I was just like watching a lot of TV. And I kind of just like stitched together this like personality mirroring. I'm like, okay, this is like what people like in terms of people.
I love how you put that. Right. Oh my gosh.
And yeah, eventually it was a long process of like chameleoning, in every room and everything. Just like seeing how much of myself changes in every, dynamic and in every conversation, and how much of myself stays the same. And I think the older I get and the less anxious I get, patience, like the more me I stay, and the less like, the less I'll deviate into whatever.
Right.
Like trying to fit into whatever's going on. That being said, though, I do have this one very funny story.
Okay.
And this is the most mirroring I've ever done. It was literally like I did an imitation back to this dude of himself. But we were both super drunk, so I don't think. But
does it count if you're drunk, Mike?
Yeah.
I think that's when it's like you get extra credit because it's almost like what Amma said earlier. You become that sacred clown, like in the live flesh, like you getting it in. All right, tell me about it, bro. How'd it go down?
Actually, fuck, I'm ADD as shit, but taking a little detour on the holla for a second. I just recorded a client who broke down what the holla was about, so that's just wild.
Dope.
It's crazy.
Oh, and I gotta give you
imitations.
I gotta give you this real quick. With the ADD thing, were you here the other day when Coco broke down the VAST thing, the variable attention stimulus trait?
I think I might have missed that.
Bro, you gonna love this.
I have been using it ever since. I
For
decided
real?
I'm not adult ADHD.
Yeah.
I'm fast. So thank you, Coco, for correcting all of us, especially as marketing people, because our heads are all over the place. That's what we do.
Right. Coco, if you could. Sorry, bro. Sorry, Maya. Real quick.
No,
Coco, if you could, I know you're listening in the audience. Coco, can you DM Meyer that TikTok video that you sent me? If you can you shoot him that? Meyer, I think you're gonna like it, bro. I think it might at least half of the time change your conversation from being ADD to I'm just vast, motherfucker. I'm just vast. You just don't know. So anyway, bro, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Again. So I was on this mini tour in Amsterdam because we were doing a festival, and we're touring with my mentor Dio, who's part of this group Art of Fresh that I grew up listening to, and so for me it's just wild that like I'm part of this guy's squad because I grew up listening to him, so I'm still trying to like get over my initial starstruckness, even though we're all in the same camp. Yeah, and so, fast forward a little bit, 3 a.m., everyone's shit-faced. I bump into him in the red light district. I'm like, oh, what's up, man?
Right.
He's like, oh, hey, I was looking for you. I'm like, no, you weren't. And he's like, I was looking for you. Let me walk you back to the boat, because we were all staying on this boat. And the whole conversation back, it was literally like, I was doing an impression of him.
Yeah.
And then he was just being him more himself, and it was the best conversation we've ever had.
Wow. Wow, bro. That's hilarious, bro. But and in addition, it makes a lot of sense to me, man. I don't know if you were here a few minutes ago. I think you were, when I was talking about the thing I've learned. One of the biggest things I've learned in psychotherapy is this concept of attenuation and accentuation. And accentuating these things, which make them more, visible, and so I can imagine with that, that level of connection. I tell you, it's an interesting thing, but mirroring, is something that I've definitely found to be so helpful over the years in different ways. So, as we talk about these things, and even you just brought up something for me when you talk about ADD, and as I jumped in, another thing I want to mention here that I've learned about my communication style is that, and again, I've had some help with that from some good people around me, is sometimes being an intuitive, which previously a recovering interrupter, it would make me interrupt, and being a personal communicator, I often have the tendency of making a person lose their train of thought, because if I interject, and if I'm not careful, and I'm always operating like a personal communicator, then I'll interject and then go into a direction where it might even have some substance, but it will completely make the person lose track of where they were and what they were saying. Because now I've offered several other thoughts that are things to either think about, and it just is too much. So I've learned to really dial that back. I've learned not to do that, because it's just not helpful at all. And so, but I appreciate you sharing that, bro. And I also appreciate, what you're saying about how, communication, how you continue to grow. And it's interesting how you said, like, I learned a lot from TV, because, man, that's one of those places where this is one of the reasons why I don't watch TV as much, because, man, a lot of times that shit is not about proper communication, man. Oh, my.
Me and my girl joke about it now. We watch it and we're like, oh, this would all be solved with a conversation.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, Mario, we're going to keep chopping it up about this. I'm really excited for how we all learn, together, digging into these conversation styles, continuing to dig into mirroring. And I can't wait. I'm going to say it again here, especially because she's here. My goal is to do a room that's just on the 4 communication styles. I'm still going to do it on this show too. But I'm hoping that Coco will agree to do that with me, because she's the one that really opened up my eyes and my ears to this thing, and has really helped me out in such a deep way. So once again, bro, I want to say good morning to you, man. Much love and respect. And man, thanks for as always, man, coming through and hanging out with us.
Man, always a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Much love to you and everyone. I hope everyone has a great day.
Yes, fam. I also want to do a quick reset. We want to say good morning to Francis. Good morning to Cheyenne. Thank you so much. The topic right now that we're talking about is communication styles. We haven't dug into the 4 types: analytical, functional, personal, and intuitive. But right now we're talking about this concept of mirroring and being able to attune and these kind of things. Coco, you just got to open up your mic for a second. I just got to thank you again for bringing light to this for me and making this a deal for me, which has helped me to learn so much, over these past, now, I guess 550 some odd days with learning myself in a deeper way. Good morning to you. How you feeling, Coco?
Good morning, family. I'm doing good.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And anybody who like to jump up to the stage, I forgot to say that if you'd like to come up to the stage to be a part of this conversation, conversational styles, mirroring and such, how can you relate? By all means, you can raise your hand. And if not, you just want to listen in, by all means, do that too. Coco, this app would break if I don't let you speak. I know you got something to say based on everything you heard so far.
Well, unfortunately, I came into the room and then I had to deal with my grandkids and I had to, get them ready to go, and I'm still having sort of my day. So every once in a while I'd hear communication and mirroring, and then I heard my name a couple of times and I'm like, oh, I'm coming, y'all, I'm coming, but I just have to deal with all this over here. So I didn't have to hear all the wisdom coming from the beautiful people in the room, including yourself, about communication. But you know me, I love communication, and as a motivational speaker with over 30 years of experience, that's all the heck I do. Sometimes I wish I could just turn myself off. It's like I communicate with myself way too much. I'm having all these dang conversations with me, myself, and I, and we all have something to say, and we fight with each other. And so just getting the communication styles in my head. I think my heart has one communication style, my mind is another, my body has another communication style. It's all, and then you add other people in the mix. It's like really confusing, but it's fun,
It's a whole deal. Well, let me ask you this real quick, and I know you haven't heard much about the entire conversation, but I am curious about this thing right here. You introduced communication styles to me, about a year and a half ago. I still have it in my notes in my phone because of how much it resonated with me. Where, in addition to being a motivational speaker, like where did you hear about these 4 styles? And the reason why I asked this is because if you go to Google and you just type in communication styles, it's not the first thing that comes up. Like the first thing that comes up is like aggressive, passive aggressive. It gives a different type of 4 communication styles. It's not until I type in something like functional or intuitive or personal that it comes up. Where do you remember where you heard about this and how you even learned about it?
Yeah, so I did some corporate training across Canada. I was doing, not only was I working with youth, but working, talking about emotional intelligence, dealing with difficult people. But I taught a course called Communication Style for Women.
Oh.
And in that course, they talked about the different communication styles. And so I love studying personality styles, love languages, communication styles when it comes to relationships. So that really inspired me to look it up. What is my communication style and why do I get so frustrated with someone else when they're talking? What is it that I'm missing from the conversation? And I thought, just like love languages, there's got to be a way for the majority of us to communicate. And then you've got those purple squirrels that have, a totally different way that people haven't been able to measure.
Right.
But that was where I got my start in sort of dissecting. That was from that one communication style for women course that I teach, which I love teaching that topic because that's a whole nother kettle of fish.
Right.
Depending on where you've come from, your family background, what you've been taught, and how important communication is in order to, even in your emails, and how you are communicating your message on your website for business. And then as a speaker, you want to be able to speak powerfully to each person in the audience who has a different communication style. Right. So, I want to make sure that everybody in my audience, or at least the majority, is catered to.
Right. Right.
And so I try to include different elements in my presentation style and my speaking style that would ensure that each person in the audience, whether they're whether they want all the details or whether they just want a broad overview, that their needs are being met. So that even in studying the art of speaking on a stage, communication style is also very important to take into consideration as you're crafting your message and things like that.
Right, 100%. Again, such invaluable information. Again, this is something that until you brought this up, I never heard of it before. And as soon as you broke it down, and as soon as I took notes on it and started to read this article, in fact, for everybody that's here, I actually have just put it on my Facebook page. If you are in this experience and you like to pop over to Facebook, I am at Aaron Hill TV on Facebook, at Aaron Hill TV. And what you're going to see when you get there is this article here. I just put it on my page. And so basically, in a nutshell, I just said, based on this article, what communication style are you? And I should have rephrased that, but you get the point. Based on this article, if you get a chance, pop on over to my page. This is at Aaron Hill TV, and you're going to actually see this. I've published it on both my personal and public figure page. I'm very curious. And what we're going to do in this last hour is I'm going to actually deliver what these communication styles are. And like I said, my goal is from here to set a date to do an entire room just on this, because the level of learning that comes from learning what style of communication you are, it contributes to having you to have healthy communication across the board. When I learned that I was a personal communicator, which means that naturally I go into backstory, as you see right now and in this very moment, I learned that this was a useful method for communicating in certain ways, but I also needed to understand analytical and how to communicate that way, how to communicate as a functional communicator and intuitive. So we're going to chop it up about that. I'm going to start delivering them right now. Right before I do, we want to say a huge good morning to Sherry. Let's say a huge good morning to Sherry as we move into our segment with Sherry. Good morning, Sherry. How are you this morning? Let's open up our microphones and say good morning to Sherry. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes. What's happening? And if you are in the audience, thank you, Francis, for coming on up. If you're in the audience and you like to come up to say hey and also to be a part of this conversation, would love to hear from you as far as how these things stack up for you. And so we want to say that. And thank you, Francis, for coming up to the stage. Good morning to you.
And good morning to you. Good morning, Sherry.
Yes.
Good morning, my friend.
Hope you're well. So as we go into this segment with Sherry, for everybody that's here, it's a segment that we started last week here, and I included it as the segment. This is where we chop it up about a number of things. On Monday, we talk about Clubhouse news and recaps from the Clubhouse town hall and bring you about the new updates and these kind of things to look out for. Tuesdays, we talk about etiquette. Wednesdays, we dive into creative brand strategy and these other things. And now we're here on Friday, and Friday is usually wild card Fridays. But before we get into that, I'm curious how you can relate to this topic, to everything that we've been talking about here so far. What's your point of connection on this?
I love that you're talking about this because it's something that I have known about for a while. I was in from school age, a program that I was in. I don't even know if they still have it. It used to be called Junior Achievement.
Okay.
And they taught us communication styles. But where I really started diving into it and learn more about it was through MLM. From the queen, Gloria Mayfield Banks.
Right.
And so she taught me a lot about mirroring and communication styles and how to be successful in sales and direct marketing.
Love it.
And honestly, I think most salespeople have to learn it at some point in time, whether they learn it formally, as the way that you're speaking of it, or they just kind of grasp onto the idea from, seeing others. But yeah.
Right. 100%, and that's why I love what this article is talking about, because as you've heard so far, this article is hitting on how to use this in your personal life, but also how to use it when it comes to working in business. In fact, I want to also let me read this next part, and it'll go a little bit deeper. Skilled salespeople, negotiators, and coaches say mirroring listeners' behavior can be a helpful tool for immersing oneself quickly and deeply in the conversation. And that's what I was just mentioning a few minutes ago. Executive coach Nancy Capistran often mirrors clients' gestures and postures during coaching sessions as an expression of her involvement and interest. She says, I meet them where they are. It's automatic for me. And that's what I was saying earlier about myself. Um, it really helps to build rapport with us when a senior executive she was coaching recently began talking about a tough problem he was wrestling with. He leaned forward and pushed his elbow on the desk. Put his elbow on the desk. She did the same thing without planning it. She says her nonverbal cues let him know that I was in the trenches with him and we could figure it out together. She says the executive relaxed and began talking openly. You can get to the core of issues so much more quickly when you understand the power of body language. I'm gonna stop there. Yeah, Sherry, it really helps. It helps with people trusting. It helps with people feeling like you're a safe space. It helps with people feeling like that you are a person that they can lean into as well. So I can imagine you have such a bubbly personality and friendly personality. I can definitely imagine that this is helped to establish rapport and trust, over the years with the people that you've been working with.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. The other thing, I think for me, what has been most important about learning mirroring and personality types is that it allows you to blend so that you can work with other personality types.
Right.
And it really helped me extensively even in management and corporate because what I learned around was the DISC for personality types, which is dominant, influence, steadiness, and consciousness. And that those personality types, if you can kind of identify the personality types,
right.
And you have to know your own, then it allows you to work with other people because we're not all exactly alike.
Right.
And particularly in the workforce, you have to know how to work with people where they are.
Right.
Once you learn the skill and technique, it becomes natural. So, for example, I can be really animated and really hyped. I'm
right.
Pisces, I'm an empath. I'm animated and hyped. And then some people are just not. That's just not them, and it's overwhelming to them, and they don't like it. So you have to recognize that, and then be able to fall into what makes them a little bit more comfortable.
Right.
Not that you have to dumb yourself down, but you do have to show that because. Especially if you're in sales, because they're not going to want to buy anything from you or talk to you or book an appointment with you if you can't calm down enough to even just make them feel comfortable.
That's a powerful point right there. Sherry, one of the things that I like about what you're saying is it shows how much goes into transactions in this way, especially in business. Many people have so much focus on just whatever they're trying to pitch that they don't realize it's just like other things in life. It's not about what you have to pitch, it's how you relate in the way that you're pitching. It's all these other things that it doesn't matter how good of a thing you have. If you are not able to connect in that way and build this kind of conversational and emotional trust, your pitch means nothing, It means nothing.
But again, for me, the most beautiful thing about learning this and really being able to do this is that it carries across every aspect in relationships. You learn to listen to your partner better, and
right.
And with your child, there are times that I'm looking at my daughter like I want to knock your damn head off because this is
right.
just but then I'm like, okay, no, she is her own personality. Let me just back down and let her be who she is and listen and because there are times that we bump up against the grain with our kids, our parents,
right.
our friends,
yes,
our supervisors, and to this point, and I'll stop here, is that my supervisor once told me the hardest part of being a manager is not the work, it's the people. Because you really have to learn how to work with different types of people. You hire people that are qualified for the job. You didn't necessarily know fully their personality type when you hired them, and you got to learn how to work within the way that they work as well.
This balance is so important. So important. Real quick, I want to do a quick refresh. I want to say hello to Augustine. I want to also say hello to Vaughn, the man with the voice, my good homie, bassman Marcellus Shepard. Also to Chameleon, Asim. By all means, we are hanging here. We are talking about communication styles. We're talking about conversational styles. We're talking about transacting. We're talking about all these things. And right now in this segment with Sherry, we're just chopping up about what these things mean and, and how, what they mean to you. I'm going to quickly read this last part of this, and then we're going to jump on to this next part of segment with Sherry and keep it going and say good morning to the rest of our good friends here. If you'd like to come up to the stage because this resonates with you in some way, by all means, raise your hand and we will definitely be able to share together. And if not, you just want to listen in, maybe you're learning something, maybe you've never heard of this, by all means. Here's the next part of this article. And this is, again, after we're talking about Miss Capistrand and how she connects, how she mirrors. So she says, it says her client, John Dudley, says Miss Capistrand mirrors his behavior so naturally during their conversation that he wasn't aware of it until she mentioned it recently, suggesting she's doing it well. And he reads her nonverbal cues as a sign of engagement and interest. Mr. Dudley trains his own salespeople to match the pace of prospective clients' conversations, urging those who speak slowly to speed up when talking with prospects who are in a rush, for example. Otherwise, he tells them, you're going to drive them nuts. Sales trainer Dale Hoffield says mirroring another person's body language helps him focus on a person's needs and understand his viewpoint. It's not something you do to someone, it's something you do with someone, says Mr. Hoffield. He adds, the very process of mirroring will help you keep your focus where it should be on the other person. And then here's the last and final part to this. When he began a pitch to a chief executive officer who was relaxed and leaning back in his chair, Mr. Hoffield sat back too, mirroring the executive postures, gestures, and choice of words. And it says, as the CEO became more interested in the training program Mr. Hoffield was selling, he leaned forward and began gesturing with both hands. Mr. Hoffield did the same, and we were off to the races. He soon made the sale. And so once again, just showing how these things relate, how they relate. Sherry, in this next segment, after we finish this segment with you, I'm actually going to see if we can get in these 4 communication styles, at least a brief version, because I cannot leave this experience without sharing with everyone what these communication styles are and something to think about. And then we'll have a longer conversation from there. But with that, Sherry, the other thing here for everybody, we've been doing a one Black History fact per day for this month. One that you may not be aware of. It's not the so common, Black History facts like Martin Luther King and I Have a Dream and some of these other things that we know like the back of our hand. We've learned about Dawn Shirley. We've learned about, who was it? Rebecca. I forgot her last name. What is it, Butler? Crumpler. Yeah, Rebecca Crumpler. We talked about Ma Rainey. Today, Sherry, what is our Black History fact for the day today?
Yes. So today, our Black History fact is about Tidy Pickett. And Tidy Pickett was an American track and field athlete. She represented the United States in the 80-meter hurdles at the 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin, and she became the first African American to compete in the Olympic Games. Ms. Pickett later went on to become a school teacher and served as a principal at an elementary school in East Chicago Heights. Shout out to Chicago. And until her retirement in 1980, and then she retired, the school was named after her, and she died in Chicago, November 17th, 1986.
Wow. It's amazing.
And if you want to see her, you can head over to my Instagram page. She is on my Instagram feed today.
Yes. By all means. In fact, I'm about to pop over there for a second. I love learning new things, and especially when it comes to Black history, which of course, there's so much. I mean, we could celebrate Black history 365 days of the year, and we would still not have enough days to talk about all the accomplishments that have come from our brothers and sisters. I'm so glad that we decided to do this, and I'm also so glad that we decided to take this approach in order to share some of the facts that just aren't as present, some of the ones that we don't know about as much. So thank you so much for sharing that, Sherry.
I'll say this really briefly, Aaron. The reason it is very important for me personally to share these type of facts,
right,
is because in doing some personal family history, I hit a roadblock because there was no history available. And I realized everybody needs to know where they came from. That's what gives us roots. That's what makes us who we are.
Right.
And we as Black Americans don't often have that information.
Right.
Because of, our history in the country. So for me, Black history is like, okay, it could be my personal history. I don't know for sure, but I love finding people that we don't know that much about.
Same here, Sherry. And I agree with you on that. Now, I got to say this, Sherry. I know it has to feel good learning about other Black women, too, that have done amazing things. That's got to make you feel even more proud. Sure. Yes. Thank you for that. So, Beating with Sherry. What's happening on Beating with Sherry today? What time?
Yes, Beating with Sherry. Yes. So, yesterday, I don't see him in the room. Kim Briscoe was my guest, and we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun chopping it up. But today, my homegirl, my homie, Tara L. Page, the patio chick, the dynamic duo, we are back together.
Nice.
So she's going to be my guest today. Yes, and we are talking about sprucing up outdoor living spaces and how she created a viral Facebook group of over 200,000 women in 6 months around creating outdoor living spaces and her personal passion for just being who she is and loving the outdoors.
Yes,
so she'll be my guest today. You can catch us at 11:30 a.m.
Eastern Standard Time. I just had to match you on that.
On Clubhouse, and you can also watch us on the live stream, which I encourage you to tune in so you can see us in person on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, the links to both of those channels are in my bio.
Yes. Beating with Sherry, stringing together the jewels of life, one bead at a time. You all can see how excited I am about that, and that's because I have been a major part of building that lifestyle brand, and I'm just excited about it. Coco, you were hanging out yesterday too. Did you enjoy the show yesterday, Coco?
I heard it for the last few minutes. I have to watch the replay because they're talking about all kind
of sales funnels.
Right. I don't even like to say the word. I feel like it's a bad word in my dictionary. It feels a lot like the F word. So I'm going to rewatch it so I can figure out why they're so evil. And why they're doing well as well.
That was funny because I read Coco's comments and all I read was, "Oh, hell to the no." What? Like I was like, Coco is over here cutting up something terrible.
Oh my God, we laughed so hard at Coco yesterday. But it was good to see the crew from the AP Morning Show in person, live in person. So Coco was like, wait, is that Ken from like the AP Morning Show in real life? So we had a good time yesterday.
Yes. We had such a good time yesterday. And, I got a chance to check out a part of the show. And again, quick recap for everybody here. I want to say hello to Linda. Hello to Augustine. Hi, Dinara. Vaughn, thanks so much for hanging out. Chameleon, Asim, Beating with Sherry, fun show, putting together the Bees of Life. And yesterday, Ken Briscoe, good brother, he was here early. In fact, Sherry, he's going to pop back in. He said he was going to come back in an hour. Sherry, you wouldn't believe the conversation where we started off, with this and what Ken had to say about it. OMG, like that's how we got off to such a good roll. And with that, yes, you all had a great show yesterday, and I'm going to go back and finish it too. And I enjoyed hearing just two great people talk about something that is really significant, important. And like Coco, I used to have like an icky feeling about sales funnel. Like it was like, ugh. But now that I understand it more deeply, I'm like, oh yeah, this is like, I mean, I know this, I just never called it, I never knew it was called sales funnel. And besides that, is about what we talked about today, which is making connections that make sense and make people feel like, you know, that they're leaning into something that they want, and you're actually catering to them in a specific way. It's not scammy, it's not selly, it's actually very, very helpful. Yes.
Yeah, I know my aversion to sales funnels is unfounded and unwarranted and unrealistic and just does, but I'm pretty stubborn with things that I don't like, and I can't wait for the man with the voice to talk about communication styles. I want to know what his communication style is, because hey now.
You're an all-star.
He is that guy.
You're an all-star. Go and play. Yes.
Good morning, and good morning, everybody.
What's up, homie? How's it going, brother?
Uncalled for behavior. Absolutely recommended. And he did that. That's
Good morning. Yes, it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. I thank you for being mine this morning.
Yes, fam. And we thank you.
You didn't tell me about this.
Say you tell me. Look, let me
say hi. That was sexy.
let me tell you something that's so cool though. And if you haven't seen it, we've had a lot of fun together. The cool thing is, when my brother came here, I've been so happy about different people coming to this app, because there's something here for everyone. And again, this being an all audio app, I was like, bro, first of all, like, we got to get you in here, because my man's been doing radio for years and doing voice acting for years, and and these other kind of things. And so I was like, bro, if there is nobody else that this is for, because if you have anything to say or you have a great way of saying it, boom. So I just want to say, personally, and we're going to jump to Francis. Francis, I thank you so much for being patient, brother. But I just want to say, bro, I'm happy again, Marcellus, for you being here. And not just that, but seeing you, start to be successful, even in the people that are appreciating your gift, bro. I just want to say, I'm celebrating, bro. So good to have you here, bro.
Brother, I truly appreciate the love, and a big thank you to all who have connected with me on here as well. Coco, I sent something to your DM this morning. I don't know if you looked at it yet.
No, I didn't, and I'm not going to look at it because I'm about to give birth again.
So. Oh my God, he's silly.
Go look at it now and come back. Let me know what you think.
It'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much, bro. And thanks for sharing that, bro. Everybody, I want to do a quick reset. I want to again say hello to you, and those that have joined the stage with us: Chameleon, the man with the voice, the good brother Francis, and Dianara and Asim. Thanks so much for hanging out. We are here. By all means, if you feel that someone could benefit from this conversation, it's always around accountability. Today, we're talking about accountability around communication styles, mirroring, and these sorts of things. Please bring them in, because I'm telling you, this conversation around communication styles cannot be talked about enough, because many times as a humanity, we wind up clashing, not because we're not sharing things that we can actually understand and resonate with each other. It's not what we say, it's how we're saying it, and it's the tone. And so, as we see here, in multiple ways, tone matters. It affects us in different ways. And so we're just going to keep this conversation going. Everybody, let's say a huge good morning to the good brother Francis. Let's say good morning to Francis Miranda. Francis, good morning to you, friend.
Morning, Francis.
Good morning.
I'm so happy to be here today.
Yes, Francis. Francis, I want to first say thank you so much for being patient. I saw you earlier want to chime in as we were doing our segment with Sherry and rolling through that and getting that accomplished. And now that we're done with that, I just want to say good morning to you. I think is this your first time coming through this experience?
It's my second time.
Yes. But yeah, and I think is this our first time sharing or being, you being on the stage and us conversing?
I guess, yeah.
Sweet. Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to hear your voice. I got a chance to meet you. For those that don't know, I got a chance to meet Francis through Sherry. And in fact, it was when Sherry and I were hosting our Wednesdays. Every Wednesday, we host the Hot Seat here on Clubhouse, the Hot Seat Creative Brand Strategy Sessions. And Francis and Sherry know each other, in this way and in other ways. Francis, it's good to see you. First of all, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. It's a very interesting topic, I must say.
Yes,
I was thinking about the same. Coincidentally, I was thinking about the same thing just like 2 days ago.
Wow, nice. So I want to usually I come in different directions when it comes to how I communicate and converse with people. And so what I want to do is I can imagine you can relate based off of what you said, and just kind of seeing you there and seeing you almost break your mute button, And so with that, Francis, what has this conversation brought up for you as you were talking about the other day, and then here what we've been talking about? How does it resonate with you?
I love the idea of communication as being empathic. I think empathy is one of those values that's super underrated. It's an underrated skill right now.
Yes.
The ability to be empathetic towards other people. And I'm a speaker just like Cherry. I'm growing my speaking career here. And one of the things that I've been taught as a speaker is really you have to learn to read the room.
Yes.
And the reason why I was saying this because I was in an online speaking gig with other speakers, and there was a speaker there who I felt like wasn't reading the room, and it was so frustrating because you really felt that the audience was getting bored because the person was rattling off too much facts and too much statistics, but then the audience didn't want to hear that, which goes back again to the style of communicating with people.
Yeah.
Like, for example, me, I'm an intuitive communicator. I like big picture.
Right.
With alarm just rang. Computer stop. So I'm an intuitive person. I like big picture. I like big picture things. There are other people who like to communicate with super detailed stuff, like what are the plans, what are the numbers, what are the statistics. And I felt like the audience at that time wanted big picture things. They didn't want to go down into hearing 1,000 statistics. And it's like one statistic after another, 15 minutes of statistics. And you could really see a lot of them were turning off their cameras, where twiddling their thumbs, were doing other things. And for me, it's really the ability to be empathetic as a speaker, I guess, because, we've been trained, what's your personality? You got to know your personality. You got to embrace your personality. In fact, my brand is all about that.
Right.
My brand is apologetic, which is all about you make no apologies for who you are. But at the same time, I always tell the people, especially the speakers that I train, that, you got to have your own unique voice. That's true. But you also got to adjust that voice. You got to tone down that voice depending on who your audience is at that moment, because you're going to have different audiences.
That's it.
Just communicate with different people, right?
Yes.
So there's power in you having this ability to empathize with where the person you're communicating with is coming from. You got to understand things like what's their problem,
right?
What hurdles are they facing right now? What's their struggle there? And I really feel like it's a skill that's severely underrated.
Right. Yes. Francis, you're hitting on something that's like so core. It's so poignant, and I love it because it actually, as we continue talking, it's going to segue right into where we're going, where I'm going to break down the 4 communication styles, and I'm going to do a briefing here since we only have about maybe 30 minutes to go. But this is going to be a longer conversation. As I was saying earlier, I'm actually going to do a room, and the family is going to be there. We're going to chop it up about this thing in depth. You said a couple things that really resonate with me right off the bat, which is where I was going to go with it. The first and most important thing is knowing your audience. And by audience is, I mean audience as in if you're just talking to your family member, to if you are standing in front of an audience on stage and you're doing a business seminar, it's all the same. The point is that you want to be able to connect with people in the way that works for them as far as communication. And so knowing these 4 communication styles will allow you to be able to formulate your communication where you include everyone in. It is nothing worse than communicating where you leave half of your audience out, or the majority, or even one person, because of the fact that you aren't communicating or understanding these styles, because that is very, very important. And I got to say this, Francis, as naturally a personal communicator, I got to tell you, at one point, I literally thought that personal communicating was like the way. It was the way. And I almost, I've never been an arrogant person or anything like that, but I was like, wow, people don't understand, this is what's needed, because I'm thinking about backstory and context. But now that I've grown older and a little bit wiser, I'm like, oh no, I was the problem. It was just that people could relate to me that were personal communicators, and then those that were analytical, functional, and intuitive, I wasn't addressing their particular need, their particular style. So I want to first just thank you for that, and just high-fiving you on that point of confirmation, with that. Where I asked Coco this earlier, and I want to ask you as well. For you, where did this start as far as you learning about these communication styles, and even you learning about the style of communicator that you were?
I mean, just like Coco, I started by going through a lot of these courses which taught you different things like love languages, what's your Briggs-Meyer profile, what's your DISC profile as well. And I guess it comes with wisdom comes with self-knowledge, right? The more you know about yourself, the more wise you become, right? And the challenge is really identifying where your strengths are, and more importantly, where your weaknesses are.
Yes.
Because that's where it all begins. We can't just focus on our strengths. We have to focus on the idea that, okay, for me, this is my weakness, so therefore I have to exert an extra effort to understand this part. For me, I'm not an analytical person. I'm not very good with numbers. I'm very good with the big picture. I'm not good with the details. And I used to beat myself up, because I was like saying, why don't I put too much details on these things? Why am I just on the big picture? But then I realized that my gifting was just on that. It was really on the big picture, the ability to see something, come up with something creative, come up with something powerful about that. But looking at the DISC, it also connected with me being a dominant person, right? So the idea is, don't try to figure out how you can fix what you're weak at. And maybe the best solution is to try to collaborate with somebody who's strong in where you're weak in.
Yes.
And that's also part of the communication skills that you also need to do, because communication is not just us speaking or emailing people. It's also us working together.
Yes.
And if there are certain things that don't fall within your core gift, then maybe the good thing to communicate, to come up with a plan that will communicate what you envision to its perfection, is to collaborate with somebody who can bring out the part that you can bring out in that vision.
Yes.
I don't know if I make sense.
Yes, 100%. It makes so much sense, and the thing I want to even piggyback and go all the way back to the root of is that all this takes humility. It takes getting out of your ego. It takes you caring, like we talked about earlier, you actually caring about being able to, about connection, and you caring about other people having a good experience when it comes to you as a communicator, as well as you having a good experience. And so I love what you're saying, Francis. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to try to do the impossible, because I really want to get I cannot leave this experience without breaking down these 4 styles of communication, at least as much as I can in brief. So here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start off with this, and I want to just reset the room again. Auntie G, good to see you. How are you? Delia, Dianara, Asim, if you'd like to come up to the stage, we want to say hey. We got about 23 more minutes to go in this experience, and we want to say hello to everyone and chop it up. So this is what I'm going to give, and thank you for everybody for hanging out. What are these 4 communication styles? I'm going to do a quick read. What's your communication style? All right, I'm going to skim this. And by the way, on my Facebook page, I have just put the 4 types of communication styles. I have also put the mirroring article. So both of those you can refer back to. And I also want to say good morning to LT. How are you today? And here we go. All right. So what's your communication style? All right, let me skim down. No one communication style is better than another, but picking the wrong style for a particular audience, whether it's for one person or thousands, shuts down a listener and can spell trouble. Learning to build flexibility around your preferred style allows others to more successfully hear the important things that you have. Blah blah blah. All right, here we go. I'm a skim through. One difference. One major philosophical difference that separates the four communication styles is the extent to which you communicate. And so by that, with emotions or with data, for example, would you say something like, I feel like we're off to a good start this quarter? That's emotions. Or would you say this quarter's sales are up by 7.2%? That's data. Another major philosophical difference is the extent to which you communicate in a linear way. Example, do you like to start with A, then B, then C, then D, all the way down to Z, or in a free-form way? Or do you like to skip over most of the details and jump right to Z? Of course, there's a lot more than four, but the four that this breaks down to is analytical, intuitive, functional, and personal. All right. The analytical communicator. As an analytical communicator, you like hard data, real numbers. You tend to be suspicious of other people who aren't in command of facts and data. You typically like very specific language and dislike vague language. For example, when someone tells you sales are positive, you likely think, well, what the hell does positive mean? 5.2% or 8.9%? Give me a number. And those with an analytical communication style often have little patience for lots of feeling and emotional words in communication. One big plus of having an analytical communication style is that because you like communication to be fairly unemotional, you're often able to look at issues logically and dispassionately. This means others tend to see you as having high levels of data and informational expertise. But the downside is that you may strike certain people as being cold or unfeeling. For example, when interacting with people like personal communicators who tend to like warm and chatty personal relationships, it's possible for the analytical communicator to get irritated and terse. This sometimes has negative effects and consequences. And again, I'm skimming. Intuitive. As an intuitive communicator, you like the big picture and you avoid getting bogged down in details and cut right to the chase. You don't need to hear things in perfect linear order, but prefer instead a broad overview that lets you skip right to the end point. For example, some people like functional communicators will tell you things step by step, but this can drive you nuts. You rather just jump right to Z. Clap it up if you're an intuitive communicator. You want to get to the damn point. One big plus of having an intuitive communication style is that your communication is quick and to the point. You don't get stalled by needing too many details, and you're comfortable with big ideas and out of the box thinking because you're good with thinking big. You can also enjoy challenging convention. Here's the downside. The downside is that you may not always have enough patience when you're in a situation that actually requires getting to the nitty-gritty details, and you may risk missing an important point. Typically, intuitive communicators have the most difficulty dealing with functional communicators. Functional communicators we about to talk about. Look, Coco, let me tell you something. She gonna break. I'm gonna have to buy you a new phone. Stop it, Coco. You're gonna break your mute button in this experience. And it's funny because I was just about to say, Coco, you, by me knowing you personally in this way, you are an intuitive. I mean, you know this already, but you're an intuitive communicator and also personal, but definitely intuitive. And so you can get very, very irritated going through the nitty gritty. Here's functional. Again, this is the nitty gritty. Functional, you like process, detailed, timeless, and well thought out plans. You like to communicate things in step-by-step fashion. By contrast, there are some people like intuitive communicators who like to skip all over the detail and jump right to the end. But this can drive you nuts, especially when you think about all the important bits of information the intuitive person is potentially missing. Sherry, you mentioned this about one of your clients the other day, that she was deeply functional and it was driving you nuts. One of the pluses is that you generally hit all the details and nothing gets missed. When you're on a team, people will often turn to you to be the implementer because they have the confidence in your level of process and detail, and because you're focused on all things like process and detail. All right, now for my intuitive, I'm trying to skim through this. I'm trying to be an intuitive communicator with this and get to the point. Here's the downside. It's that you may have risk of losing the attention of your audience. That's where I come in. I've lost that because I've been a functional and personal communicator. That shit drives people nuts. You'd be like, when you get to the fucking point. And when you're talking to intuitive communicators, people who like the big picture, you drive them nuts. Now, here's the last one. Personal communicator. As a personal communicator, you value emotional language and connection, and you use that as your mode of discovery and discovering what others are really thinking. You find value in assessing not just how people think, but how they feel. You tend to be a good listener and diplomat. You can smooth over conflicts, and you're typically concerned with the health of your numerous relationships. Here's a big plus. A big plus is that you build deep, it allows you to build deep relationships with others. People will often turn to you as the glue that holds the group together, and you're typically able to pick up on vibes that others may have missed because you're attuned into the emotional aspects. But here's the downside, is that you may occasionally be derided as too touchy-feely. Now, I have, and I just got to pause for a second. This is one of the biggest things I've learned as far as being a personal communicator and how to work against that. Sometimes, even in these experiences, which I'm so grateful for to help me learn this, when I meet new people, I'm just naturally, I want to embrace you. I want to love on you. I want to learn about you. But if we just meet, for some people, it's like, yo, that's too touchy-feely. So I've had to learn to back off of that. So, for example, when dealing with analytical communicators, people who like hard data and numbers and dislike the warm and fuzzy, it's possible for personal communicators to become exasperating and emotionally upset. So here's the conclusion. So what is your communication style? As was said in the beginning, one style is not better than the other. The key is to first understand your own particular communication style so you can match your communication style to that of your audience. Whether you're speaking with your boss, a small sales meeting, your employees, an audience of thousands, matching your communication style to the folks you need to hear your words is an essential step to effective communication. I want to add one last thing, and I think I did a good job with that. I mean, shit, that was 8 minutes, so I was a good intuitive communicator. And with that, here's the last thing I want to say, and then I want to jump in back into the convo. And what I'll probably do is we'll probably free flow and freestyle, because in 15 minutes, I want to get everything in. So we will freestyle, we'll flow. I'm going to jump to Chameleon first and Dinara. We're going to flow in this way. Open conversation. Now, as a personal communicator, my son is actually hardcore analytical. And it was one of those things where over the years in raising him, I had to really, really learn how to adjust to this because we're at polar opposites. Anytime I want to get into the details of things, he immediately checks out. And the tough part for me was that it would be during times when I needed him to learn and understand, because it was one of those things where we needed to go a little bit deep, but he was just ready to move on immediately. And that was a struggle as a parent, because to some degree, we needed him to be emotional so that he could be able to understand things and go a bit in. So what I had to learn was to strike a balance. You know, it was that I had to learn how to meet his style and not go as deep as far as personal communicating. So reset of the room. I want to say hello to Shireen, hello to David, and thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Topic of the day is all things communication. Coco, did you want to share something? I want to keep rolling down this flow. Coco, was there anything that resonated with you in this that you wanted to jump in on?
Nope. I think you summarized it up really well. I don't want to take up anybody's time. So, you can jump right over to whoever was next.
Ladies and gentlemen, an intuitive communicator. 100. Marcellus, was there anything, bro, that this resonated for you that you wanted to share? I know we talked to you earlier, but was there anything that you wanted to share, bro, that resonated with you?
I just wanted to say, when communicating with folks, always be your authentic self.
Right.
When you are, it comes through, and don't try to get over on people. We have too much of that going on in the world, and we have too much of that going on here in particular on Clubhouse. So be your
true, authentic self and deal with people in the way in which you would want others to deal with you. But make sure that your message is clear and concise.
100%. 100%. LT, what it be? LT. Is there anything in this that jumps out for you? What do you know what kind of communicator you are, and or did this resonate in any way for you? How so?
Love rising, everybody.
Love rising,
and you
LT.
already know, Ron. You know what kind of style I am. You've been around me for a minute now.
Well, I'll tell you this, LT. If you're like me, we're almost chameleons. We got a few of those ones in there. I definitely know that you are definitely personal for sure. You are definitely intuitive as well. Like you're chameleon. Like the only thing I
can
go
shift
ahead.
the room, right?
Go ahead.
The funny part is if I'm doing a training, right? I always tell, because you went over the first one, right?
Right.
Those are considered green personalities. I always say to the green personalities who's in the room, because I'm blue, I tell them, I'm like, so you're not going to get no data, okay?
I was just about to say, you're not analytical, right? Right.
That's how I kill the data, right? People. I tell them, listen, but if you stay with me, I promise you. Because you know what? I'm not a dated girl. Like, I'm not a dated girl. And when I was in Toastmasters, they used to be laughing like, oh, LT about to come up. Let's see when we get to chapter 13, how she going to do with presenting data. Y'all not getting it? I'm still going to talk from this space of my heart and be relational.
Yeah.
And pick up the data from there.
LT, let me give you a tip, LT. This is why I'm laughing. This is how we service the analytical communicators, right? And this would be a funny joke at time. When you start say, okay, for all my analytical communicators, 0% of anything you hear me say, 0% of this conversation is going to be analytical and data driven. And you satisfy your analytical communicator. 0%.
You know what? It actually gives them what they want.
Yeah.
Like, I'm using that one.
Yeah.
Because instead of just telling them you're not going to get it, I'm going to put it in percentile.
Right.
0% of this conversation will be about analytics. Okay?
Hey, Francis, what you think about that, bro?
Right,
Francis is.
I mean, I love it. I have a confession to make, though. So my confession is that, maybe some time ago, I would be the type of person that if the person wasn't communicating to me the way I wanted to be communicated to, I would get so irritated. It's like, what the hell, man? I mean, right? But then I realized that when we encounter those moments when we feel irritated at how another person is communicating,
yes,
it becomes a perfect opportunity for us to refrain our mind and simply catch ourselves and tell ourselves, wait a minute, this person is communicating in a totally different way. And when we acknowledge that, then we can do our own little pivot so that we can best understand this person.
That's it.
So for me, that's something that was very powerful. The idea of understanding that, oh my gosh, the person is different. And my trigger is the sense of that little voice in your head that starts to whisper, aren't you so irritated at this? Isn't it so annoying? And when I catch myself saying that voice to myself, I immediately go into pivot mode and I ask myself, okay, maybe this person is just communicating in a different style. So
that's
it. Gotta make an effort to try to see where that other person is coming from, so we can have a good dialogue.
I love it, bro.
Shutting off and telling myself, I'm not gonna get anything useful from this person.
That's it.
Because you can actually miss the opportunity by just shutting off because it's not your communication style. That's why I use a personality assessment of the room, right? And I put it into color form because that's the way that I actually teach, right? Is I get to know, because I'm personable, I want to know their personality, right? And then if I have a green in the room, they're very analytical. If I tell them, like Aaron was saying, which I'm going to use verbatim, 0% of this conversation will be about analytics. They smile at me, and I tell them, I see you in the room.
and I know you want these numbers, right? But I'm blue, and blue don't give you numbers, right? And then they start laughing, which warms the room, which makes them feel that I at least acknowledge them, you know, in this training. I always get them out the way, because I know that some of them are going to say, but what percent of that is going to, and then that just throws my whole training off, right?
100%.
So I will do that to mute that whole, what you're doing is you're interrupting that pattern in their mind, so that you give them what they want, right? Which is very little, because that's not how you do things, but you also make sure that you make the training or the conversation so relatable to what they came there for. It resonates with them as well.
That's it.
Yeah.
So yes. Thank you for that. Chameleon. Good morning, Chameleon. How do you fall in this? What do you have to add this, Chameleon?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Chameleon.
I am very much a personal and intuitive communicator.
Yep.
I can shift to who I'm speaking to.
Mm-hmm.
I have I do have an analytical perspective to me, because I'm a techie.
Right.
But yeah, I'm primarily I think I feel personal and intuitive. I'm very much about, and I'm also the type of observer that is an interactive observer, experiential observer. So instead of somebody falling back and watching I can do that as well, but most times I'm engaging to see who I'm dealing with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm antagonistic in a sense. You know, like I don't know if antagonistic is the word, but I'm playing with my reality to see who I'm dealing with instead of just watching. Yeah.
100%. Were you familiar with all four styles?
No, I was not. However, it's expressed in many different ways. It's kind of like LT that deals with the colors.
Right.
So I know something about it, and I do understand where I fall under that, when I mentioned. I'm definitely I can very much be the sensational. You know, it's all about the feeling. It's all about the hype. And I'll go with that because it feels good. You know what I mean? Like, numbers could be off, but no, it feels right. I get a good feeling. You know what I mean?
I love it. You know, if you hadn't said that, I would have, and this is what I enjoy about learning this, I can pretty much see what kind of communicators people are. So as soon as you say personal and intuitive, I'm like, yep, because, you know, listening to your style, listening to your flow, and having those relatable traits, I feel the same way as well, and I can relate and I can recognize it. Dayanara, where do you fall in this spectrum, Dayanara? And you know, what do you think about these styles? Where do you fall in the communication spectrum?
Good morning.
Good morning, Dayanara.
I was so I heard the first two. Can you go over the last two? Because I was in and out the room.
No problem. So you have analytical is numbers. No problem. No, this is actually a perfect opportunity. Analytical is numbers. Intuitive likes to skip all of the details, all in between, and get to the point. Functional is going through everything, the nitty gritty. And personal is the deep emotional, giving you the backstory, context. You like going down the rabbit hole, even if it's something that's simple.
So I want to say I'm more a personal person,
right,
with a touch of analytical,
right?
Because I like process and procedure. Because if there's no process and procedure, then I go down the rabbit hole and I have to write things out. And so maybe not so strong with numbers, but definitely to analyze things. And it's funny that you said, data drives me, right? It just makes sense to me.
Right.
It might not be the numbers, but just the information, right?
That's
it drives me.
That's it.
But it's funny that you said about your son, because I have one that's just a data-driven person too, right? And we were bumping heads, but I could see where he gets it from. So he gets it from me also, you know?
Right.
The only thing is that I'm more personable because of whatever social background I come from, whether I come from a big family and I love people and I like the you know what I mean? So that's probably where he gets it from. Mm-hmm. And the difference between him and I is because I was born long ago, right?
Right.
And we played outside on our bikes, right?
Yeah.
And played in the park, right? They just play on the machine now. So
I love it. I love it. You know, this means a lot to me. And I love this because even, again, and I'm demonstrating it right now, under normal circumstances, when a person would ask a question like that, even something simple like, can you reiterate? I would be a personal communicator and go way down a rabbit hole. But again, even here, boom, I jump straight into analytical and intuitive to jump straight to the point and not lose sight of things. I love and thank you for sharing that so much. Delia, where do you fall in this spectrum? Analytical, data-driven, intuitive, getting to the point, functional, going through every single detail, or personal, going into deep emotional and backstory and down a rabbit hole?
I think of myself as an analytical intuitive. I like to listen to the details and I like to go on that journey, but then I just let it all go when I reach the bottom line. I let the details go, and I so often want to share the cool thing that I learned about, but I go to speak and I realize, oh wait, I only have a single sentence takeaway. And no one really gets to enjoy, all the data and the background that I got to enjoy to get there. Yeah.
I love it.
I do realize that for me to start a room, I realized this when I first tuned in and realized, oh wait, he always has source material just about. But I need to have source material. I need to find something that I want to share and read from, because that satisfies my desire to communicate in the analytical way that I value, and while still being that intuitive,
right,
internalized this simple portion person.
Yeah. So Delia, let me tell you this. From my experience with you, you definitely also have a touch of personal communicator as well, especially when it comes to your creativity and your creativity, your creative way of looking at life and metaphor and how those things go deep for you. In fact, I really think that your writing and your expression in these ways comes really, I think, from personal, because the way, like, for instance, and I gotta give you this, I read your writing the other day. I didn't get a chance to tell you. OMG, Delia, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Oh my goodness. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, on this journey of accountability, Delia started releasing her writings and sharing, and it's on Medium, and she'll give you the info in a few seconds. But I just got to tell you, I was really, really touched by your writing. It really just touched me so deeply. And again, the reason why I say you're definitely a personal communicator too is because that's why I like this so much. It satisfied the personal communicator in me, the down the rabbit hole, version of me. And I love your self-awareness, in the other ways as well, as far as intuitive and analytical. I'm actually going to put this up on my Facebook page. I mean, not my Facebook, my Instagram. I'm going to put this diagram that's from this article that shows, like, the 4 communication styles, and you'll be able to see it there, and we'll, continue to convo there. And just this whole topic is good. I want to do a quick refresh. We're wrapping up in a few minutes, but I want to do a quick reset. David, T, Auntie G, Asim, I'm curious as to what kind of communicators you are. If you don't desire, you don't have to come up and speak about it, but I would love for you to DM me and just tell me, based off of this conversation, where do you think you fall on that spectrum? If you could Instagram DM me, or actually even better, not DM me, because I actually want to make it more of a broad and open conversation. So as soon as I put up this graphic while we're hanging out with Asim, finding out where does he fall in this spectrum, If you can, and everybody else that's here, if you can, really quickly, when I put it up in 2 minutes, just say, hey, I'm this communicator. Hey, I'm this communicator. I want the broader audience to also take part in this, and I want to learn and grow with others as well. So yeah, look out for my Instagram post in the next, 60 seconds. And good morning, brother Asim. Good morning, Asim. How you doing, fam? Everybody, let's say good morning to Asim this morning. Let's say good morning to the good brother Asim. Asim, how you doing this morning, fam?
Morning, Asim.
Asim, you there, brother? If you,
I thought everything was out off you.
No doubt, fam.
Appreciate everyone. Good morning. How's everyone doing as well?
Well, bro. Well, how about you?
I'm doing awesome. Yeah, I'm doing very good.
Yes, sir.
Just see my stock just shot straight up. I'm great.
Yes, sir. I love it, fam. Where do you fall in this spectrum? Analytical, intuitive, functional, personal, and for everybody, again, it doesn't have to be that you're just one. I'm actually all four. That's what Coco taught me in our first talk. I was able to see myself. Asim, how does this stack up for you, bro, based on what we've been sharing?
Well, because of my growth and seeing what I got more into, like mode and what my purpose is, it became the last two. I do go through a whole entire thing, and then I speak from the heart. So
yeah,
it's the last two.
Right. Yeah.
Because I want people just not only just hear what I'm saying, but feel it so that it resonates with them.
Right.
So yeah, the last two definitely.
Personal and functional. And again, as a reminder for everybody, functional is going through details, nitty gritty. Personal is details as well, but in a bit more down the rabbit hole of, like you said, connection, emotional, wanting to be felt even more than heard, and so I definitely dig that. Have you known about these communication styles in this way, or is this something that's new to you with how it with naming it this way and putting these characteristics into names or categories?
Actually, no, I didn't know about it. What happened was, when I was younger, I used to just say things and just leave it there. Like I really didn't care whether you understood it or not. At least I said what I said and call it a day.
Right.
And and it's kind of almost a lifestyle in Brooklyn. Like when I said what I said, like and it is what it is. Like you ain't gonna sugarcoat it or nothing, but then it was like different things happened throughout my life, and then like I said, growth and maturity, and then started doing lectures and and meeting people, and it was like, okay, I can't be stuck on one thing. I gotta grow into who I am, and so I just let it naturally happen. Like I didn't try to figure out or try to force it. I just let it naturally happen, and I became who I am.
Right. I love it, man. I love it. It's interesting because even just listening to you speak, I hear a combination of personal and intuitive. You explain an intuitive communicator that you are. I said what I said, which is, getting to the point, bottom line, boom. And then the way that you described it was in a very personal way. You described the details and the connection, even emotionally, of what that means for you. So that makes a whole lot of sense to me. Thanks for sharing that, bro. I again, it's such a good learning experience as I hear people and as I learn more about them. It allows me to connect with people on a deeper level. And even that's why I engage you this way, because you're a personal communicator. I am too. And this is how we rock. This is how we roll. You know what I mean?
And one more thing, real quick. And the thing about that was, I've learned, I forgot who was on, it was LT or Sherry, But a lot of people don't understand certain things. So you can't communicate with everybody exactly the same. You gotta, put them in different categories. And when I do that, I give them, a little background or maybe a situation that they can, they can understand actually. So I don't have to keep on repeating it to like different people. Like I'll repeat it one way to the left crowd and right crowd. I kind of just mix it up so everybody can just think and say, okay, I got it.
Right. 100%. That's the one takeaway. In fact, I love that you said that, because that's going to be reiterated when we round this thing out in a few minutes. The most important thing is that there's no one that's better than the other. The point is understanding and being diverse so that you can communicate with everyone, and so that everyone can have a successful communication with you, especially when you're trying to share something, get something across, help people in some way. So I thank you so much for sharing that, brother. Brother David, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. How you guys doing?
Yes, sir. I'm doing well, bro. And I love what you just did, because you immediately went straight into mirroring. You said that in the same tone I said it and everything, bro. How you feeling today?
Man, I'm outstanding, brother. Any day we wake up, we got a fighting chance.
Yes, sir. Where do you fall on this spectrum with regards to communication style?
Very important question, and I would almost echo what the previous brother just said. For me, when I enter a space, I'm able to adapt based on the communication style of the individual or the group that I'm talking to, and I guess I really honed those skills when I started really traveling overseas.
Yeah,
because the culture is different, the pace, the lifestyle, the temperament, the tone, the pitch. Whether I'm in West Africa or whether I'm in London, and so I really started honing that as I got older and started to travel internationally. And so I just think that, particularly for those of us that are in business, being able to adapt based on, the folks that you're talking to and the relationships that you're trying to build really dictate your communication style.
100. When you're a self-aware, emotionally intelligent individual like yourself, where you can pay attention and be able to know that and flow in that way. So I definitely feel you, because if not, then you just wind up communicating one way and then getting frustrated why everybody's not getting what you're saying or feeling you. You know what I mean? Let me tell you something. You go back to like the church setting. This is why when people say, y'all don't hear me, I'm like, yeah, don't nobody hear you, because you ain't communicating with everybody. Like, that one style is not going to work for everybody, bro or sis, You got to be able to figure that out. Have you heard of these styles in this way, as far as, by these names?
Oh, for sure. There's a great deal of research on communication styles, and so you're spot on. And I think particularly, for entrepreneurs, these kinds of conversations are really important, because as an entrepreneur, you're moving rapidly into so many different kinds of spaces. I remember, there were times where I may be teaching a class in the jail, and so the way that I'm communicating and listening to the brothers, and then, 15, 20 minutes later, I'm in the car and I'm headed over to the university.
Yeah.
And so I think time and place, temperament and tone, our ability to master language is key to our ultimate success.
Yes. I couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree more. Let's see. Sherry, did you mention what? Yeah, we didn't. Sherry, where do you fall in this spectrum?
I know where I am on DISC, so you tell me. How about that?
Yeah, I love it. So, Sherry, you are a chameleon. You're a chameleon.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
It's a learned familiarism.
Right.
Is that a word? I just made that up.
I love it.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, probably. I would agree with that. And my good friend Natasha is in the audience, so she probably could confirm. But I think you're correct with that.
Yeah, your business side is definitely data, definitely facts. Definitely to the point there. Your intuitive side allows you not to, have to have long, drawn out conversations to get to the bottom line. Your functional side allows you to do details when needed, and you definitely are a person that from the heart. You live from the heart, you express from the heart, you feel things deeply, and you know how to communicate them. You're actually all for, which is actually one of the reasons why I enjoy communicating with you, because it's that balance. And so I enjoy communicating with people where it helps me to continue to maintain that balance. I learn from every conversation. So, yep, you're a chameleon. Is there anybody else here?
Funny,
Go ahead.
We do grow into to various stages. So I think we all embody some portion of all of it. Just a matter of what's most done at time in our lives. To David, he was here with us the other day. David has known me since I was probably about 6-7 years old, maybe. Mm-hmm. And he probably knows that soft. Would you say, David? I was like the quiet, but just friendly empath. True. Yeah, I wasn't fully the person that you know me as now. Mm-hmm. So that part was just a little softer in my life then.
Yeah, 100%. Brother Meyer, you there, bro? If so, where do you fall on this spectrum in relationship to what we've been talking about?
Oh, my bad. I've been in and out.
Oh, no doubt. Did you hear the four styles?
You know what? Nah, man, I think I missed that part, unfortunately.
Cool.
Which kicking myself for, because I literally wanted to hear about that. So I'm gonna tune in attentively for the next little bit. Circle back to me.
No doubt. In fact, I'll give this to you real quick. And by the way, like I said, it's we also hanging out on FB. If you ever want to listen to the whole thing in a nutshell, and I'm putting it on Instagram right now, you all. I'm actually being an intuitive communicator and making a real short description. So analytical is that you are data and facts driven when it comes to how you communicate. Intuitive is that the bottom line is most important to you, not going through every single detail. Functional is more important for you, to the nitty gritty of every detail is important to you. And personal is where it's about the emotional connection. It's about, it's always about emotional connection and going down a rabbit hole and connecting in that way. I know that might be, maybe too brief, but
no, right. I got you now. Yeah, it's all kind of coming back. I would definitely rate myself as one of the more personal ones.
Right.
And additionally, I'd be curious to know if there's any kind of intersect between the 5 states of being, when you tend to get hijacked by your submit part or your protector part or your freeze or your fear. I'm wondering how those might affect the 4 types of dialogue for people.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. Very, very good question. It's a very good question. I am going to, because I'm multitasking. So what I'm gonna do is, for everybody, I'm sharing the post now. I'm going to add to the caption to do these quick breakdowns, just one line breakdowns. But the post is up on Instagram. My very first post, click on my Instagram in my bio. Very first post, it shows the chart. It says, what's your style of communication? Go ahead and drop it there. Again, remember that it's not that you have to be one or the other, because that's the thing, like Sherry said, most of us aren't just one or the other, but what combination are you? Just how does it stack up for you? All right, I think we got to everyone here. I want to say hello to Natasha. We want to say good morning to Natasha. Good morning to Miss Energy. Also want to say welcome, Miss Energy, to Clubhouse. Welcome. See, you got your beautiful party hat, and I am your second. Yes. We can all say welcome if you like. Welcome. Good morning. Yes. I'm your second. Yes. I'm your second follower, Miss Energy. Looks like you got another one here because I just refreshed. Thank you so much for hanging out. Hope that you really enjoyed this conversation, communication styles of all things communication. Hello to Natasha. Very, very, very nice to meet you, especially good friends of the family with Sherry. And also, again, Auntie G. So good to see you as always. This has been a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun. The takeaway point, and going back to the article again, the takeaway point is that no one of these styles is better than another. And I think that we've echoed that in different ways. No one is better than the other. If you really, really want to get across your whatever, whether it be that you want to share, you feel like you have a message to share with someone that's inspirational or helpful, you want to be there in that way, whether it's that you want to share something from a business perspective or have those kind of conversations, whether you're communicating with your children, your family, your boss, it doesn't matter. The best thing is to continue to learn about these styles, continue to understand where you are, and understand how each person, each communicator thinks, so that you can be the most effective in communication by doing something or forming a style that caters to everyone in some way, shape, form, or fashion. It doesn't mean you have to go down a rabbit hole in places where that's not your communication style, but it does mean not leaving anyone out. And honestly, after this conversation, you can't blame people if they check out if you're not doing that. There's a way to do it. We do it in other places in life. We find balance. And so here we are finding balance. As we wrap up this conversation, I also want to say, what up to my FB peeps? Ball Nathaniel Carpenter, good brother. What's up, family? LT over here says, love rising. I love it. I love when we got the double dippers. Ross Seals. Ross, you just put, let's see, what'd you put here? I'm trying to read these emojis. I see the hands, the thank you hands. I see the picture look like a sunset. Good morning to you. Good morning. Thanks for hanging out. Let me know for you all, what has this brought up for you? What kind of communicator are you? Also want to say hello again to D Love Harrison, Michelle 3, Chip Dalton, Cam, Ifa Osun, Delima. Thank you so much for hanging out, and all our peeps that's on YT as well. Much love. Everybody, we're wrapping up this experience. I feel like we got so much accomplished today, and every day that we learn something is always a good day. And so on that tip, I just want to affirm everybody here an amazing day on purpose. The music that you've been listening to in the background is Kamal Remix from yours truly, Kamal Remix. If you want to check this out and it be something that you hang out and chill out to, just look at the info on my Instagram bio. You'll see it along with my new album, The Serenade, Volume 12. Check out Beating with Sherry, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Coco, do you have a room tonight? You got a room tonight, Coco? I don't know. I'm trying to make sure everybody's...
No, tonight I'm doing grandma duty. So tomorrow night is the room. I did one last night, which was great. So Thursdays and Saturdays for the most part, and maybe Tuesdays.
Love it.
Thanks for asking. And for anybody who's really curious about the personal style, people who have personal styles want everybody to have personal styles. I love how Ron completely demonstrated the intensity of the personal style, the way that he speaks. I think it makes him a great moderator. I'm just going to give you your flowers for a second. Makes you a great moderator. You have so much more patience than I do. The way that you affirm everybody, maybe one of your love languages, the words of affirmation. So I appreciate you, the fact that you so openly communicate, and that's why this room is so successful, because of your personal communication style. That does drive me batty a lot of the time. You keep interrupting yourself and going down all these different tangents and never coming up, and you're like, I'm going to talk to you guys about communication style. I'm going to give you the 4 points right now, because communication style is very important, and so here I'm going to give you the 4 points right now. And then you say 25 different things before you give us the 4 points. I appreciate you. Nevertheless, I appreciate you so very much, Mr. A.A. Ron.
Thank you, Coco. And I couldn't do it without you, because Coco helped me to reel that shit in and help me.
Yeah, it's not working. I need to go. We're gonna meet at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We're gonna fix it up.
I love it. Oh my goodness, I love it. Oh man, thank you so much, Coco.
I mean, if this is reeled in, I don't remember what it was back in the day. If this is reeled in, then I don't know.
Oh, it was bad. It was bad.
You're doing well. You're doing great. I appreciate you. But you know, I gotta make you laugh and
you know
and
it.
kind of thing.
It would not be right. It would not be right, Coco. I told Coco, over the year and a half we've known each other, there has not been one day where we've communicated where I have not at some point been in tears in our conversation. Thank you so much, Coco.
You mean laughing tears, not like I haven't made you cry, like, stop talking. You make people feel like I'm beating you up over here, but it's all love. It's all love.
Of course. 100%. Oh man, so good. And I also want to do a quick refresh. Say hello to John. Say hello to Nate. Thank y'all so much for hanging out. The AP Morning Show every morning, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 10:30. And as I always say, with good peeps, you see I have no problem putting in OT. And I want to say once again to my peeps, LT, Sherry, Meyer, Coco, Chameleon, Dalia, Asim, Auntie G, True for Life, Natasha, Miss Energy, John, Nate. Thank y'all so much for hanging out. As always, we always have a good time together. And so I look forward to it again. One last thing on my personal communicating tip ass. LT hosts a room every day, Monday through Friday here, Finding Bay After Dark, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. LT, I'm so proud of you as always. Please tune in to Finding Bay After Dark. What's the topic tonight, LT? Do you have one already?
That'll be a no.
That's
all
it?
Of my people who needs to have the percentage of that, no.
I love it. Right?
Oh my God. Who are waiting for the percentage of how many times we held that room? It has been over 30 times. Okay?
Woo!
I'll see.
Right.
Wait, before we end, LP, I've been trying to keep pace with you, but can you give us a really quick update on your divine feminine journey for this month?
Yes.
Because I'm over here putting on my dress and my red lipstick because today is the red National Wear Red or Love Red Day, something like that. What?
Damn, LT, look at this damn picture.
It's bright. So we are doing Even with Love for anybody who wants to join us, and what that consists of is you just really embracing all of your femininity, how you speak, your tone, the temperament, all of that stuff. It has to be in a loving space. We're also adorning ourselves with dresses for the month of February. So we wear a dress every single day. You see the dress in my picture.
Fire. Goodness gracious.
And thank you, AA Ron. And then we accept compliments from men. We welcome more male energy to help and support and assist us on this journey.
Amen to that.
So if they open the door for us, is thank you. Is if they call you, is I appreciate that call. Just welcoming all of that good stuff as I am getting listen, baby, I'm over here getting it. You know what I mean? So yeah, we are doing that and just embracing more of the feminine energy. I want to thank my good friend and girlfriend from Clubhouse and sister from another Mr. Chameleon for putting that dropping that jewel on me to even want to do it. I had nothing, to do. Oh, and then you have to take yourself on at least 4 dates and buy yourself at least 4 gifts.
Nice.
How about that?
Oh man, talk about self-love, self-care.
I love that.
I love it too, and I'm so glad, Chameleon. Thank you for bringing that up to LT because I'm tracking with her every day. I don't wear a dress, but yesterday my dress was cute. It's up on my Instagram stories, and I'm gonna put today's up too.
Can we get
thank you to both of you, and I'm wearing my bright red lipstick for the day.
Can we get?
I love it.
Yeah.
Have you noticed the difference, Sherry, the way that you interact with your world when you're feeling feminine?
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I'm a girly girl anyway. I like wearing dresses and high heels. If you give me an opportunity to wear 6 inches, I'm wearing them. But since the pandemic, I've fallen out of that. So in the last few days of just, getting back into, even if I'm just around the house, I'll put on a skirt or a dress. I feel my divine feminine. I'm like loving my curves and, the way I move. And so I'm liking it.
Yes. 100%.
This is a move. Like, I'm even incorporating this in business. I want to be the Chick-fil-A of the game. That's my ultimate goal, y'all. Wait, did you say the Chick-fil-A of the game? Will you get an amazing experience when you encounter me? Huh?
Yes. Come through, LT.
Oh, back of the church. I hear you. Amen. Yeah, so I'm just embracing this, and I'm very thankful. I feel beautiful. I feel amazing. And we actually in a Bay Room, AA Room, which had a lot to do with communication. We put on the table because someone inboxed me about the way that I was dressing and saying that my skirt was tight and just stuff. And we handled it.
Right.
We talked about when people come at you and they say different things, how do you handle when the critics come?
Right.
So, yeah, very great conversation. And my sisters, my goddesses, they stepped up and we talked about it. So it was good way to,
I'm sorry, what had happened?
Oh, sorry, Mama Coco, sister. I forgot.
Don't. I don't want to hear that. Okay, we're gonna talk about that later. Sorry.
Okay. Let me tell you something. I love our community.
Yes.
They don't play no games
right.
when it comes to each other.
Right.
And then you had Nicola say, remember, LT, we're leading with love and light, right? And with love and light. So I love that they will regurgitate back to me what I say to them when things happen and we need to get out of pocket. But we handled it. We really did handle it. And
I can slap some light and love on top of somebody's head if you feel like
oh my God.
I've never seen Coco like this.
Look, Coco, we don't want to lay no hands, okay? In the name of the Lord.
She said it.
And I feel amazing.
She said it in the name of the Lord.
On Jean Day, Jean Blue dress. You will see that post shortly with some purple lips. I didn't know it was for red though, man. I wore red yesterday.
Listen, let me tell you something.
Post today. I said wear it tomorrow or post what you wore before today. It don't really matter.
Listen, baby, they gonna get all of it, okay?
That's it.
Okay. So I try to, because I'm trying to see how many dresses I have. So I started cleaning out my closet, then created space, and just embracing,
yes.
the male energy. This is what magnetism is when you begin to magnetize. You have to see it. You have to be it to see it.
That's it.
So who are you being at the end of the day? What are you saying out your mouth? How are you seeing love? How does love show up for you? Okay.
All that and more. All that and more tonight.
Okay, let's do the goddess room.
Right.
We can work that out. Hey, Ron, did I tell you that I love
you? You haven't today.
Hey, Ron, you over there messing around with IG? Yeah.
Look, you see it.
I love y'all. And so
my bad. I forgot I didn't realize my mic was muted. My bad. Not today, except for just now.
Well, I love you and I appreciate you.
I love you too,
LT.
LT.
All the melting that show up for us to balance.
Yeah, thank you, LT.
It's been beautiful.
Thank you, LT. It means a lot to me, someone here in this experience told me I had a particular ministry when it comes to the feminine energy, and I understand that because I have made it my duty to understand women at a deep degree. And so, it's important to me, and I'm glad that I could be that energy, and I'm glad I could be that balance in that way. And my goal is to continue leading in that way. And speaking of leading, again, I didn't realize my mic was on mute. I was over here losing my mind with what y'all were talking about. But I want to say all that and more tonight in the Bay Room, because you're making it do what it do, LT, and we all are here. I want to celebrate once again everyone here, And on one final note, just to let you know, announcement, so to speak, this weekend, Sunday, and this is every Sunday, 9 to 11 a.m., I host the 5M Fellowship here on Clubhouse, and that's music, movement, meditation, mindfulness, and mantra. Today's topic, I didn't get into it, but it's a self-care topic. If you look at my Instagram, the second post, it is meditation, and the concept is called My Mind is Too Busy. If you get a chance to read that, that's what we're going to chop it up about on Sunday. I hope that you all have an amazing day today. I'm so proud of you, family. We're just doing amazing things as a tribe and benefiting each other's life and being assets. So on that tip, last but not least, if you appreciate this and other expressions that I host and hold here, and you want to help me to continue to do this, continue to do what you're doing now, and then also look at the info that's located in my bio. Everybody have a happy Friday. I can't wait to talk to you again and join everybody else here for these experiences. Beating with Sherry at 11:30, Finding Bay After Dark tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Everybody, let's open up our microphones, and one last time, let's affirm each other on a great day today on purpose. I love you all, and much love to the LLTC, Love and Light, Truth and Coalition. Yes, everybody.
Peace and blessings.
Yes, peace.
Love, light,
yes,
and truth.
And truth. Yes, and hello to Pamela Allen, who joined us over here on FB, another one of our LLTC family. We love you. Take care, everybody. Peace. See you soon. Peace, everybody. See you very soon. Thank you to my family for hanging out. And again, grab an iPhone until they open it up for Android and join us over here on Clubhouse. I'm at Aaron Hill TV. Just look me up there. Let's hang out. Let's have conversation together. Look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Peace.